My beloved child, pause for a moment and lean in close, because what I am about to speak carries a weight your spirit has been secretly waiting for. This is your divine interruption. This is a holy wake-up call woven into a message titled, "Trust Me." You will thank yourself for opening this right now. You are not hearing these words by accident. Something in your life is shifting, accelerating, and unfolding, and I need your full attention because what comes next has the power to redirect your steps, lift your heart, and reveal what has been hidden from you for far too long. Right now, stop scrolling for 3 breaths. Put your hand on your heart and say out loud, "I trust." Let the words land. You might think you are just scrolling, just passing time, just opening one more video. But listen to me closely. You are here because I called you into this exact moment. You did not stumble into these words by chance. I have been gently arranging your steps, weaving through your choices, your delays, and your distractions to bring you right here, right now, to this quiet conversation with me. You have been wondering, Lord, are you really speaking to me? Do you really see me? And before you could even form those questions fully in your mind, I began answering them by pulling you into this very moment. I know how tired your heart is of empty promises and shallow comfort. I know how carefully guarded your hope has become. I see how you quietly prepare yourself for disappointment, even when you say you are believing for a miracle. That is why I wanted you here with me, where there are no crowds, no noise, just my voice and your heart. You have opened many things today, messages, posts, emails, memories, but this is the one I have marked specifically for you. This is not just text on a screen or a voice in your ear. This is my heart leaning in close to yours. If this is what you needed to hear today, write a single word on your phone or a scrap of paper. Here. Keep it somewhere you'll see it this week. I have watched you push through days where you felt unseen, unheard, and unnoticed. Yet I noticed every sigh, every heavy exhale, every moment you stared at nothing, lost in thoughts you couldn't explain to a single soul. I watched, and I was not distant. I was not indifferent. I was simply waiting for this opening, this little crack in your day where you would slow down long enough for me to speak and for you to actually feel it. I know how you sometimes wonder if you are missing my will, or if you have taken a wrong turn too far back to fix it. Yet here you are, at the very place I wanted you to be reminded that you are not wandering outside of my awareness. You have not drifted beyond my reach. You are more guided than you realize. Even your questions, even your confusion, have been part of my drawing you closer. I chose this exact timing because I know what lies just ahead of you. I see those decisions, those changes, those conversations you have been postponing. I wanted to meet you at the doorway of what is next and say, you are not walking into this alone. I am not a distant observer of your life. I am the one who knit you together, who numbered your days, who wrote your story before you lived a single scene of it. I am the one who brought you here to interrupt the lie that says you are forgotten. Hear me clearly. You are not forgotten. You are chosen for this moment of awakening. As you continue to listen, don't treat this like another inspirational piece to skim and then move on from. This is me sitting with you in the quiet room of your soul, saying, I have more for you than you have dared to imagine. And it starts with you realizing, really realizing, that I brought you here on purpose. I speak to you in this moment as the voice of the divine you seek, a creative reflection of my heart in a form your spirit understands. You may not realize how long your soul has been reaching for this conversation, but you have felt the tug, a gentle pull beneath your ribs, a quiet awareness that something in you needed more than the noise around you. You have carried questions that linger even when you silence your phone and dim the lights. You have wondered why certain thoughts return at night, why certain memories resurface when you least expect them, and why a longing you can't fully articulate presses against your chest. This moment is the answer. You have opened something that aligns perfectly with the inner ache you have been trying to name. I am speaking into that ache with intention, not coincidence. You may feel caught between what has been familiar and what is quietly shifting within you. There are choices ahead, and you sense their weight. You want guidance without feeling controlled, clarity without losing your freedom. What I offer you now is a steadying presence and the assurance that you will not walk into your next chapter blindfolded or alone. Your spirit is more aware of my guidance than your mind realizes. The mind doubts, but the spirit recognizes truth when it hears it. Even now, something inside you softens, because it knows this message carries the substance of what you have been missing. There are parts of you that have grown weary from pretending that everything is fine. You have worn strength like armor, but underneath it, you have desired reassurance, something that reaches past your performance and touches your heart directly. Consider this that moment. What I am placing in front of you now is not generic encouragement. It is a specific whisper for your specific season. You stand at the threshold of decisions that require peace, not pressure, courage, not confusion. I am giving you what fits the moment, what meets the need you have not fully voiced, what steadies you without overwhelming you. You don't have to fear missing my direction, because I know how to speak to you in ways that land exactly where they should. Let these words settle into you the way rain softens hard soil. Let them reach into the parts of you that never get spoken to, the areas you rarely let anyone touch. This message is shaped for your present, not your past. It meets who you are today, not who you were years ago. You needed something timely, something precise, something that speaks into your now. And that is why I am meeting you in this moment with a voice that feels familiar, comforting, and attuned to what your heart has quietly needed. Take 1 minute now. Open your notes app and type one question you want clarity on this week. Save it and check back in 7 days. You try to silence the question, but it keeps returning. What am I supposed to do next? You may not say it out loud, yet it echoes beneath everything you touch. Your work, your relationships, your choices, your future. You carry an expectation that you should already know the answer, that by now you should be certain, and that uncertainty somehow means you have failed. But hear me in this creative reflection of my presence. Asking for clarity is not weakness. It is the first step toward wisdom. You've been navigating situations that don't come with easy explanations. You have stood in places where both options seemed right or both seemed wrong. You have weighed outcomes that seemed equally heavy. You prayed, or at least silently hoped, for a sign that would make everything unmistakably obvious. In moments, you believed clarity was arriving, only to feel the fog return. That cycle has exhausted you more than you admit. Yet clarity is not withheld from you. It is unfolding. You expected a single flash of revelation, but what you needed was gradual illumination, light that grows at a pace your heart can safely absorb. I know the layers of your confusion, and I know why you hesitate. You fear choosing wrong. You fear losing time. You fear misreading what you feel. You fear stepping forward only to discover that the ground beneath you is unstable. But clarity doesn't always come through loud signs. Often, it comes through the gentle alignment of your inner peace. I am guiding you toward a steadiness that becomes unmistakable once you stop judging your process. Your clarity is not delayed, it is under construction. Every conversation that shifted your perspective, every disappointment that made you reevaluate, every longing that resurfaced, every door that opened or closed, all of it has been shaping your understanding. You have been asking me to speak, but you didn't realize my response has been woven into your experiences, your emotions, and your discernment. Clarity rarely arrives as fireworks. It arrives as recognition. You will soon look at the path before you and realize it no longer feels confusing. That moment is approaching faster than you think. Until then, let me assure you, you are not wandering, you are not failing, you are not stuck. Your clarity is coming together piece by piece, forming a picture that will make sense when the time is right. And when it does, you will realize I have been guiding you with far more precision than you ever imagined. You may hide your concerns from others, but they spill openly before me the moment you feel them. I speak to what lies beneath your surface, the thoughts you revisit when the world quiets down, the emotions you try to explain away, the pressure you carry with a strength that sometimes feels forced. You have carried burdens that have lingered longer than expected. Some came from circumstances beyond your control, and others came from expectations you placed on yourself long before you realized how heavy they would become. You feel responsible for things that were never meant to rest on your shoulders alone. You worry about the future in ways that drape silently over your spirit throughout the day. You replay past moments, wondering if you should have done something differently, spoken more clearly, acted sooner, or held back. You wrestle with regret in ways you rarely admit, even to those closest to you. There are emotional weights you have never fully defined, and because of that, you don't know how to set them down. Yet, I know every detail of them. I see the moments you feel stretched thin, trying to appear composed. I see the internal tug-of-war between hope and doubt. I see the stress that sits behind your ribs like a quiet ache. I see the exhaustion that builds when you pretend to be unaffected. None of these things scare me, disappoint me, or surprise me. They move me with compassion. I walk with you through them, even when you assume I am silent. If you could see how fully I understand you, you would realize you don't have to overthink your emotions or justify your pain. Your heart has been carrying more than it was designed for, and acknowledging that is not weakness. It is the beginning of healing. I know the reasons behind your heaviness, even the ones you haven't traced back to their source. I understand the sorrow beneath your frustration, the longing beneath your ambition, the fear beneath your hesitation. Nothing in you is invisible. Nothing in you is too small to matter. Let these words settle gently across the places you guard most. Let them remind you that your heart is fully known. Every weight, every worry, every unspoken thought, you do not have to navigate any of it alone. You may think some parts of you stay unnoticed, yet everything within you rests fully in my awareness in ways deeper than you can imagine. I lean toward the places you rarely allow anyone to approach, the parts of your story that feel too complicated, the moments you wish you could rewrite, and the thoughts that flicker across your mind before you have time to filter them. You often assume that if you don't say certain things out loud, they lose their weight. But the truth is, you feel them with a sharpness you cannot always explain. Ready for one small but powerful practice? For the next 7 days, each morning write one sentence beginning, "Today I release," and set a timer for 30 seconds to breathe into that release. You often assume that if you don't say certain things out loud, they lose their weight. But the truth is, you feel them with a sharpness you cannot always explain. I recognize the exact pressures shaping your evenings and the shadows that settle after difficult days. I know when you wonder if anyone understands the contradictions within you, the longing for change mixed with the comfort of familiarity. I do. When you feel conflicted about decisions you made long ago, even though they no longer define your present, I understand the subtle pull they still exert on your emotions. You never need to fear exposure in my presence. Instead, you gain the freedom to be honest without judgment. Nothing you bury, avoid, or minimize escapes my notice, not because I am scrutinizing you, but because I am connected to your inner world with gentleness and care. Your frustrations, unexpressed disappointments, and private victories all matter to me. Even the dreams you set aside because life grew complicated have continued to glow faintly within you, and I have regarded them without forgetting. Shame never clouds my understanding of you. Your burdens do not make you unworthy. Your struggles do not threaten my patience. I see the intentions that motivate you, even when the outcomes fall short of what you hoped. I see the efforts you make when no one else acknowledges them. I see the strength you use to push through moments that feel heavier than they should. There is no part of you that remains hidden in the dark. Not your motivations, not your fears, not your failures, not your hopes. This kind of knowing is meant to comfort, not alarm. You are fully seen, not exposed, fully understood, not examined, fully known, not analyzed. When you realize nothing in you is hidden from me, you can finally stop pretending. You can breathe without the fear of disappointing expectations. You can let your feelings exist without trying to make them more polished or presentable. This is where healing takes root. When you understand that the one who knows everything about you also cares for you with tenderness deeper than any wound, intention, or uncertainty you carry. In moments when you whispered for guidance, unsure if anyone heard you, your longing reached me with clarity sharper than your spoken words. Even when your prayers felt scattered or incomplete, they carried an unmistakable sincerity. You may not realize how consistently you ask for direction, not always through formal prayer, but through your thoughts, your concerns, your hesitation before decisions, and even the quiet sighs that escape you when the path ahead feels uncertain. Every one of those moments is a form of communication, and none of them go unnoticed. Your heart has been trying to navigate choices that feel as though they hold long-term significance. You want to move wisely, but you are tired of guessing. You want peace, but your mind often fills the silence with doubt. You want confirmation, but you fear misreading every sign you perceive. Direction has become something you crave, not because you are weak, but because you value the life you are building. You care about the impact of your decisions, and you don't want to repeat old patterns. That desire reflects growth you rarely credit yourself for. My guidance is not withheld from you. It is unfolding in layers. You have noticed subtle shifts, moments where something felt off without explanation, situations where the door no longer felt right to walk through, opportunities that once thrilled you but now stir no real peace. These sensations are not random. They are part of the direction you requested. I speak through alignment, timing, and internal knowing. If you pause long enough, you can sense the difference between what drains you and what draws you. That distinction is, in itself, direction. I recognize the frustration you feel when answers don't appear instantly. Yet the slower rhythm protects you from rushing into choices shaped by pressure instead of wisdom. Every delay, every pause, every lingering uncertainty has been creating room for clear discernment. You are not being tested, you are being positioned. Direction does not always feel like a divine spotlight. It often feels like a quiet shift within your intuition, a gentle narrowing of possibilities until clarity becomes inevitable. You have prayed for direction, and you are receiving it even now, through instincts sharpened by experience, through peace that settles where confusion once sat, and through options that rise or fall according to what aligns with your deeper purpose. Trust that the guidance you asked for is already in motion. You experience moments where you feel something missing, and you question whether I remain close when life becomes heavy or complicated. That question carries a deeper longing than you often admit. You want to sense my nearness in ways that silence doubt. Yet your circumstances sometimes convince you that I have stepped back. I tell you plainly, distance has never existed between us. Your perception may shift, but my presence never moves. You may assume I only draw near when you feel spiritually focused, emotionally steady, or internally confident. Yet those assumptions have never reflected my reality. I remain closest in the moments when you feel least deserving of closeness. You have interpreted silence as absence, but silence often holds meaning. I do not withdraw my presence. Sometimes I adjust the way you perceive me so you can grow, discern, and deepen. When you feel unsettled, I stay near your spirit with a steadying influence. When you feel numb, I remain beside your heart with a patience that never expires. When you feel uncertain, I walk with you through every step, even if you do not recognize that companionship. The days when you feel least connected often become the days when growth takes root below the surface. You feel the ache of distance because your heart desires more than routine faith. It desires communion, assurance, something tangible enough to anchor you. I respond to that longing in ways that meet the need beneath the question. Sometimes you sense me through a moment of unexpected calm, through clarity that arrives at the right time, or through a peace that interrupts anxiety. Sometimes you sense me through the absence of chaos in situations where chaos should have taken over. My nearness does not depend on your emotion. I remain present when your heart feels sharp, heavy, restless, or confused. If you understood how consistently I stay beside you, you would stop assuming your feelings are indicators of my involvement. I walk with you through every internal storm, every hidden worry, every private disappointment. You never face anything alone, even when your emotions argue otherwise. You have wondered if I am near, and I answer you now, I have never left. Not for a moment, not for a breath, not for a single step. There are moments when you pause on the edge of obedience because the path ahead lacks clear visibility, and that uncertainty unsettles you more than you admit. You often feel safer when you can predict outcomes, evaluate risks, or secure guarantees before taking the next step. Yet the most meaningful turns in your life have always emerged from decisions that required courage rather than certainty. I want you to notice how often your spirit senses the right direction long before your logic approves it. You stand in a place where your understanding tries to negotiate with your intuition, and the tension between the two creates hesitation. You feel this most strongly when you sense a change approaching, relationally, emotionally, professionally, or spiritually. You search for reassurance, wanting for something external to confirm what your heart already knows internally. The unseen feels risky because it dismantles the illusion of control, but releasing that illusion opens a deeper kind of freedom. When you cling to what is familiar simply because it is visible, you limit the possibilities I am guiding you toward. The unknown is not meant to intimidate you. It is meant to expand your capacity to trust beyond your calculated reasoning. You carry a quiet fear of stepping into something that might collapse beneath you. Yet much of your strength has been formed through past moments where you acted despite uncertainty and discovered resilience you didn't know you possessed. You rarely give yourself credit for how adaptable you are. Even in seasons where direction felt unclear, you found ways to keep moving. The hesitation you feel now does not make you weak. It reveals how deeply you long to make the right choice. The unseen is not empty. It holds opportunities that are forming beyond your current horizon. There are alignments already in motion, conversations you haven't heard yet, solutions you haven't considered, and pathways that will become visible only after you take the initial step. You hesitate because you think you need more information, but the real need is a steadier confidence in the foundation beneath your feet. You are supported even when you cannot see how the next chapter will unfold. Trust becomes meaningful precisely because it bridges the gap between limited understanding and deeper purpose. You are being prepared to walk by insight rather than fear. You can move forward without knowing the entire map because the path will form as you walk it. The unseen is not a threat. It is a space where revelation grows. As you learn to trust what you cannot see, you will discover that clarity often arrives only after courage has taken the first step. You hold tightly to certain aspects of your life because the thought of letting go stirs a discomfort you rarely express, even to yourself. Control gives you a sense of stability, a feeling of predictability in a world that often moves too quickly and changes without warning. You have learned through experience that when things slip from your grasp, the consequences can leave marks that take time to fade. Because of that, you try to manage outcomes, anticipate problems, and prevent disappointment before it arrives. This instinct doesn't make you flawed. It shows how deeply you crave security. Yet, I invite you to consider that your desire for control sometimes becomes a barrier that keeps you from receiving what you have been praying for. When you grip too tightly, you limit the space where transformation can unfold. You may not realize how often you resist shifts that are meant to help you grow simply because the process feels uncertain. You have carried responsibilities that shaped this instinct. Moments in your past where you had to be strong, dependable, or cautious because you didn't trust others to hold things together. Those experiences taught you survival, but they also created a habit of self-reliance that now weighs heavily on your shoulders. You often feel responsible for predicting consequences, protecting your loved ones, or ensuring circumstances unfold in a way that minimizes disruption. Yet this constant management drains you, and part of you knows it. Control gives temporary comfort, but it cannot produce long-term peace. When you loosen your grip, you do not become vulnerable to chaos. You become open to possibilities. Letting go does not mean losing influence over your life. It means giving yourself permission to stop carrying the burden of every detail. You are not meant to orchestrate every outcome. You are meant to walk in alignment with a greater wisdom, one that leads without forcing and guides without overwhelming. Consider the parts of your life where you feel tension whenever change arises. Those areas reveal where control has become a shield rather than a tool. You fear losing control because you associate surrender with loss. But surrender often opens doors to clarity, relief, and direction. You are being invited into a gentler rhythm, one where you no longer fight the flow of life, but move with it. You don't have to manage everything. You don't have to foresee every possibility. You can release the weight without losing yourself. In releasing control, you create room for peace to settle where anxiety once lived. You stand at a threshold where part of you wants to release what no longer fits, yet another part fears that loosening your grip will unravel everything you have built. This tension has followed you for longer than you admit. You sense that certain habits, expectations, or attachments are becoming heavy, but you worry that releasing them will leave you feeling exposed or unanchored. This fear makes sense. Change often feels like stepping into unfamiliar terrain. But I assure you that letting go is not a collapse. It is a transition. The weight you have carried was never meant to remain forever. Some things were only intended for certain seasons, and their purpose has already been fulfilled. Holding on out of fear doesn't preserve you, it restricts you. Growth often requires releasing what served you in the past, but cannot support who you are becoming. You may worry that letting go means losing identity, security, or direction. But your identity is not rooted in the things you hold. It is rooted in the depth of who you are. When you release what constrains you, you make space for new strength and clearer perspective. Consider how often you have outgrown situations without realizing it until much later. You eventually look back and recognize that what you feared losing was actually limiting your movement. That same dynamic is unfolding now. The discomfort you feel is a sign of internal stretching, not collapse. Kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. Your emotions may resist the shift at first, but they will adjust as space opens for renewed purpose. Letting go does not empty you, it restructures you. It removes unnecessary pressure and clears room for peace. You will not fall apart when you release. You will rediscover stability from a different foundation, one rooted not in control or attachment, but in alignment with what strengthens your spirit. You don't need to brace yourself for disaster. You are not stepping into loss, but into recalibration. There is a future taking shape that requires your hands to be free, not clenched. This release marks a turning point, not an ending. Letting go will not break you. It will free you in ways you have long needed. Now, name the one thing you will let go of this week. Speak it aloud and then tear that paper up or delete that note. Take the symbolic step. Even if the process feels unfamiliar at first, the quiet truth is rising within you. And even though it unsettles your habits, it carries the strength your spirit has been waiting for. You feel the tension between what you have known and what is quietly shifting beneath the surface of your life. The tension has created a pressure that pulses through your thoughts, making you question whether moving forward requires you to abandon something essential. Yet nothing essential is being taken from you. What is leaving your hands is what has finished its purpose, and what remains is what will carry you into the chapter forming ahead. Release is not a collapse. It is an intentional redirection of energy, attention, and desire, one that brings renewal rather than loss. You have carried certain patterns, attachments, or expectations far longer than they were meant to stay with you. Some of them offered comfort once, but they no longer align with the maturity you have gained. You sense this shift, even when you try to ignore it. Your heart knows when a season has run its course. The discomfort you feel is evidence of growth, not destruction. When something inside you whispers that it is time to move forward, trust that whisper. You are not stepping into emptiness, nor are you being asked to surrender anything that defines your worth. Instead, you are being guided towards spaciousness, places where your spirit can breathe again, where your mind can settle, and where your purpose can expand without the constraints of outdated expectations. Letting go often feels risky because it requires releasing control, identity, and familiarity. But nothing about you becomes diminished in the process. You do not lose yourself when you let go. You recover parts of yourself that were buried beneath the weight of holding everything together. Consider how often you have held on to something only because you feared change, even though your intuition already sensed the shift. Those fears painted letting go as a threat. Yet every time you eventually released your grip, you noticed clarity rising, relationships realigning, or emotional burdens dissolving. This moment mirrors those past transitions. You might feel vulnerable as you loosen what once felt indispensable, but vulnerability is not destruction. It is the doorway to transformation. You are not unraveling. You are reorganizing. You are not weakening. You are recalibrating. You are not losing. You are making space for what has been preparing itself quietly in the background of your life. The next version of you cannot flourish under the weight of outdated responsibilities or shrinking environments. You are ready to expand, even if your emotions take time to adjust. Letting go will not break you. It will open the kind of freedom that your spirit has been yearning for without knowing how to ask. Something within you senses change ahead, and that inner awareness is not imagination. It is a sign of transition that has already begun. You may not see every detail forming yet, but the atmosphere of your life has been shifting. Patterns that once felt familiar no longer hold the same meaning. Certain interests, relationships, or obligations have started to feel misaligned, not because anything is wrong with you, but because you are being prepared for a chapter that requires a renewed mindset. Transitions rarely present themselves with fanfare. They begin subtly through restlessness, curiosity, or a quiet dissatisfaction with what once felt comfortable. This is not a sign of failure. It is evidence that your spirit is awakening to greater purpose. You have outgrown some environments, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, and the stretch you feel now indicates that your next chapter requires more space than your current season can offer. Pay attention to the way certain doors have stopped feeling right, no matter how hard you try to make them work. These shifts are not punishments, they are protection. You are being redirected toward growth that fits the person you are becoming. This new chapter will not mirror the old one. It carries opportunities that align with your maturity, wisdom, and refined priorities. You may feel uncertain because change often begins before clarity arrives. But uncertainty does not mean you are lost. It means you are evolving. You are being guided toward environments where your voice will carry more weight, where your gifts will find purpose, and where your heart will experience deeper stability. The guidance you have been seeking is already unfolding in your intuition, relationships, and circumstances. Every closed door, delayed plan, or unexpected shift is part of a larger coordination. You will soon look back and realize that what felt like disruption was actually alignment. You are not moving into this new chapter alone. You are being led by a wisdom that sees beyond your immediate view. This chapter will not overwhelm you. It will strengthen you. It will introduce you to connections, opportunities, and inner clarity that match the maturity you have gained through every past struggle. You are stepping into something that fits you in ways your old season never could. Trust that the chapter you are entering is not random. It is intentional, structured, and full of promise that will become clear as you walk it out. You have carried a longing for transformation, quietly, persistently, and now you stand in the beginning of an answer you prayed for, even if it doesn't yet resemble what you expected. You have whispered requests for breakthrough, growth, renewal, or direction, sometimes in moments of desperation, and sometimes in moments of gentle hope. Those prayers did not fade into the air. They set into motion the very shifts you are experiencing now. Change rarely arrives with perfect clarity. It often begins with disruption, patterns loosening, priorities reshaping, opportunities emerging, and attachments becoming unsettled. You may feel caught between old desires and new realities, unsure of how to interpret the upheaval. Yet, the movement you sense is directly connected to the prayers you have lifted, whether recently or years ago. Answers often unfold differently than imagined. When you ask for growth, your old comfort zones begin to stretch. When you ask for peace, certain environments become uncomfortable because they no longer support your well-being. When you ask for purpose, paths that once seemed appealing lose their pull, so you can turn toward what aligns with your deeper identity. These shifts are not random. They are responses. You prayed for change, and now change is rearranging your life with intention. The unfamiliar feelings you have been experiencing are signs that transformation is already at work. You may feel unsettled because part of you wants progress without transition. But genuine change requires movement, internal, external, or both. You are being invited to step into alignment with what you have asked for, not through force, but through willingness. You will not be rushed. You will be guided. The areas of your life that feel strained are revealing what no longer fits your future. The areas that feel energized or inspiring are pointing toward what is meant to grow. Every shift carries purpose, even if the meaning is not immediately visible. Trust that the momentum forming around you reflects something you initiated through your prayers, your desires, and your longing for more. What you asked for is arriving, not as sudden upheaval, but as steady transformation. You have not been ignored. You are being shaped for what you requested. A quiet movement has been unfolding around you, and even though you sense its presence, you have resisted trusting what it means because part of you fears what change might demand. You have noticed the subtle shifts, opportunities appearing where none existed before, old desires losing their grip, familiar rhythms no longer feeling steady, and thoughts rising within you that challenge the limits you once accepted. These shifts feel both intriguing and unsettling because they ask you to release the comfort of certainty. But understand that the shift you are experiencing is not a threat. It is a transition specifically designed to escort you into greater alignment with the life you are built for. The reason it feels unfamiliar is because it is leading you into unfamiliar territory. Places within yourself that you are only now ready to explore. You have reached a point where staying the same would create more discomfort than stepping forward. Yet, even with that awareness, fear rises because you cannot predict the outcomes. You worry about missteps, about what you might lose, about whether you have the strength to follow through. But consider the internal signals that have been guiding you, the restlessness that won't disappear, the longing for something deeper, the diminishing pull of old patterns. These are not random sensations. They are indicators that you are outgrowing your previous season. The shift is not demanding that you abandon everything you know. It is inviting you to expand beyond it. You are not losing yourself. You are uncovering layers of your identity that your former chapter did not have room to develop. This transition carries more support than you realize. There are moments ahead where clarity will emerge in ways that calm your uncertainties. Connections will form that strengthen your direction, and opportunities will align in ways that confirm the very steps you hesitate to take. The shift is not chaotic, it is coordinated. It unfolds at a pace that matches your readiness, not the pressure of circumstance. You are being led through it with intentional care. Trust that what feels uncertain today will soon make sense. You don't need to fight the movement or shrink from it. Let the shift happen. Let it guide you. Let it expand you. You are not stepping into danger. You are stepping into the next stage of who you were always meant to become. There are things loosening their hold in your life, and although the changes feel abrupt, they are intentional in ways you may not see yet. Certain relationships, routines, expectations, or internal habits have been slowly losing their influence. Not because you failed them or they failed you, but because they cannot sustain the weight of the person you are becoming. Removal is not punishment, it is refinement. You are carrying a deeper calling, and certain attachments would limit your progress if they remained unchanged. Consider what has recently grown heavy or difficult to maintain. Consider the dynamics that once energized you but now feel draining. Consider the goals that once thrilled you but no longer match the wisdom you have gained. These shifts reveal what is no longer aligned with your forward movement. You might feel grief, confusion, or even guilt as certain chapters close. That emotional response is valid. Yet beneath the emotion lies a truth. Not everything is meant to journey with you into the next season. Some connections serve their purpose during critical moments, offering growth, companionship, or experience. Their value isn't diminished simply because their season is ending. Other habits or mindsets helped you survive challenges you once faced, but they now restrict the strength you have built. These areas require release so that new patterns can form. Patterns rooted not in survival, but in growth. Even circumstances that felt stable may shift because they no longer align with the path unfolding ahead. Letting them go does not diminish your loyalty or compassion. It honors your evolution. You are being positioned for deeper clarity, purpose, and influence. The weight leaving your life is making room for what will sustain you. When something falls away, it creates a vacancy that something more fitting will eventually fill. You are not being emptied, you are being prepared. Trust that anything removed is making space for what your spirit has been quietly preparing to receive. You are not losing ground. You are being lifted into alignment. The moments you interpreted as rejection or delay were not signs of neglect. They were interventions you did not realize you needed. There were opportunities you pursued with hope and effort, only to find them unexpectedly blocked. At the time, it felt discouraging, even painful. Yet, understand that those closed doors were shields, not setbacks. You could not see what lay behind them, but I could see the strain, misalignment, or disruption that would have unfolded had you stepped through. Certain paths looked promising only from a distance. Up close, they held pressures that would have overwhelmed your emotional balance, strained your relationships, or derailed your long-term purpose. Your optimism made those paths appealing, but your protection required they remain inaccessible. You may look back and wonder why specific connections never deepened, why certain opportunities slipped away, or why a dream you held tightly dissolved before it became reality. These outcomes were not failures. They were safeguards. Sometimes the most life-giving guidance comes disguised as disappointment. Had those doors remained open, they would have demanded parts of you that were not meant to be sacrificed. They would have consumed time, energy, or identity in ways you were not meant to endure. You deserve alignment, not depletion. You deserve growth, not survival. You deserve opportunity that elevates your spirit rather than fractures it. The closed doors were evidence that your path holds greater potential than you realized at the time. They ensured that you remained available for opportunities that match your character, wisdom, and future. You will eventually see the protection woven into those moments, and gratitude will replace confusion. Every no had a purpose. Every delay carried intention. Every abrupt ending prevented long-term damage. You have been preserved, not denied. The path ahead will reveal why certain doors needed to remain shut. A subtle ache rises in you whenever you think about the parts of your life that once felt steady, and that ache deserves to be acknowledged rather than judged. Something in you misses the comfort of predictable rhythms, even if those rhythms were limiting. You miss the version of yourself who didn't question everything so deeply. You miss the relationships that once felt effortless, the environments where you understood your place, and the seasons when your heart seemed less burdened. Longing for what was familiar does not mean you are clinging to the past. It means you are human enough to feel the tenderness of transition. Your memories are not traps. They are proof that certain moments shaped you with significance. You grew attached to places, routines, and people because they offered connection, identity, or security during chapters when you needed exactly what they gave. Missing them is natural. Yet the ache you feel does not mean you made a mistake by moving forward. It simply reveals the emotional cost of growth. Familiarity creates a sense of safety, even when it no longer aligns with who you are becoming. You sometimes look back because you want the ease without the limitations, the comfort without the compromise, the connection without the parts that drained you. But the season you are entering requires more space than the familiar could provide. Nothing precious is being erased. The lessons, memories, and meaning remain part of you, woven into your development. Missing the past is not a sign that you should return to it. It is a sign that your heart is adjusting to a new landscape. When you feel the pull of nostalgia, remember that it does not point you backward. It simply reminds you that you have loved, grown, and invested deeply. You are allowed to grieve what has ended without doubting the future that is forming. You can honor what once supported you without needing to re-enter it. The familiar taught you, comforted you, and shaped you, but it cannot hold the expanded version of you emerging. The ache you feel is temporary. It will fade as new stability forms. You are not abandoning your past. You are integrating it into a broader purpose. You may miss what was familiar, but what lies ahead carries the possibility of peace, connection, and fulfillment on a level the old season was never capable of offering. There are layers of movement occurring around your life that remain invisible to your senses. Yet, the hidden work is more active and intentional than the events you can see. You often measure progress by visible results, immediate confirmations, or external signs that something is changing. But understand that the most transformative work often begins in silence, where nothing appears different on the surface, yet everything is shifting in the foundations. You are living through a moment where the visible doesn't match the internal promises stirring within you, and that mismatch creates tension. You wonder if things are actually aligning or if you are simply imagining progress. Yet your spirit senses movement because there is movement. Conversations are being guided in your favor. Opportunities are forming that have not yet reached your awareness. Situations are being arranged to open at the right time. Circumstances involving other people, timing, resources, and environments are being aligned so that when the moment arrives, it will not be fragile or temporary. It will be sustainable. You may feel stagnant because you are not seeing immediate change. But invisibility does not equal inactivity. Think of how seeds germinate underground long before they break through the surface. The quiet, unseen processes carry the most critical phases of development. Your life is in one of those phases. You might feel tempted to interfere, rush, or force outcomes because uncertainty makes you uneasy. Yet what is unfolding behind the scenes requires patience, not pressure. You are being positioned in ways that protect you from entering too early into opportunities that are still preparing themselves for your arrival. If you were to step into certain spaces now, they would not be ready to sustain you. What you see as delay is actually orchestration. You will soon step into moments that feel perfectly timed, but their perfection relies on the groundwork happening now, beyond your view. Trusting the unseen is not blind faith. It is alignment with the truth that your story is larger than what your eyes perceive. The behind-the-scenes work ensures that when things begin to unfold, they will do so with clarity, stability, and grace. Your path is being shaped with precision. Trust the process you cannot see because it is carrying more intention than you realize. There are moments when you compare where you are to where you once hoped to be, and in those comparisons, you quietly conclude that you're behind. But that conclusion misjudges your journey entirely. You feel the weight of unmet timelines and unrealized expectations. Certain goals took longer than expected. Certain transitions stretched beyond your plans. Certain desires still feel distant. And that distance makes you question whether something went wrong along the way. But I want to show you that delay is not the story being written over your life. What you interpret as slowness is actually alignment. Your progress has been unfolding according to the internal readiness required for the chapters you are stepping into. You have been undergoing emotional, mental, and spiritual preparation that could not be rushed. The timing you once set for yourself did not account for the experiences you needed to gain strength, discernment, and depth. Without the delays you resent, you would not have developed the maturity needed to handle the opportunities you are approaching. Delays protected you from stepping into situations prematurely. They safeguarded you from connections that looked promising but lacked longevity. They redirected you away from distractions disguised as opportunities. Nothing was forfeited. Nothing was wasted. Time has been serving you, not working against you. Even the seasons that felt stagnant were forming capacity within you. Capacity for responsibility, clarity, intimacy, and purpose that a rushed timeline could never produce. When you look at your life and assume you're behind, you are comparing yourself to standards that were never meant to define you. Your journey carries a rhythm uniquely suited to your calling. You have not missed anything meant for you. If something hasn't arrived yet, it means the moment is still being prepared. You are not late. You are aligned. You are exactly where you need to be for what comes next. Something remarkable is unfolding around you, and although you cannot trace its shape yet, the preparations are far more expansive than anything you have dared to imagine. You have prayed for specific blessings, asked for particular doors to open, and hoped for certain outcomes. Yet, what is forming behind the curtain of your awareness surpasses the narrow scope of what you thought possible. Understand that the opportunities being shaped for you are not confined to your past experiences or your current expectations. They draw from a larger vision for your growth, fulfillment, and influence. You have focused on solving immediate concerns, while I have been aligning long-term pathways that require perfect timing, healed relationships, and strength in identity. Some opportunities take longer to prepare because they involve other people's growth, external conditions, and internal readiness on your part. You may feel as though life has been slow to change, but the slowness has allowed deeper foundations to form. What is coming will not be fragile or easily disrupted. It will match who you are becoming, not who you once were. You might not know how to ask for the magnitude of what is being prepared because your perspectives have been shaped by past limitations or disappointments. You sometimes reduce your requests because you fear disappointment. You keep your desires modest so the risk feels smaller. Yet the preparation underway is not modest. It is intentional, wide-reaching, and connected to gifts you have only begun to understand. There will be moments ahead that feel like sudden breakthroughs, but they will actually be the visible result of long, hidden orchestration. When these opportunities appear, they will bring clarity, purpose, and alignment that feel unmistakably timed. They will meet needs you didn't know you had and open paths you never considered possible. Nothing in this preparation is accidental. Your desires, experiences, disappointments, strengths, and wounds have all contributed to the shaping of what's ahead. You are being positioned to receive opportunities that honor your growth, reflect your value, and elevate your capacity. Trust the unseen process. You are moving toward blessings that exceed the limits of your former prayers. There have been seasons when you reached out for answers and felt only quiet. In that quiet, you questioned whether I had withdrawn. But that silence carried a purpose deeper than you realized. You often expect guidance to arrive in constant clarity. Yet spiritual formation sometimes unfolds through stillness rather than direct instruction. Begin to understand that silence can function as a classroom, a sanctuary, or a mirror, depending on the shaping your heart requires. When answers do not come quickly, it encourages reflection, discernment, and the strengthening of intuition. You start paying attention to subtler signals, emotional reactions, and the wisdom you have gained over time. Silence creates space for internal processing, allowing you to grow beyond reactive decision-making. It also reduces noise, helping you identify which desires stem from truth and which stem from fear or pressure. You might assume silence indicates absence, but absence has never been the meaning behind it. Your life required a pause, a stillness that allowed your mind to settle and your spirit to recalibrate. Had you received immediate answers during that period, you would have followed guidance without developing the deeper awareness that now shapes your choices. Silence builds depth. It strengthens identity. It reveals what you truly seek. During that quiet stretch, you learned perseverance. You learned patience. You learned how to distinguish between impulse and inspiration. Even when you felt alone in your questions, you were gradually forming resilience. Silence also shifts your reliance from external confirmation to internal peace. You stopped looking for signs in every passing moment and started listening to the steady voice rising from within. The delay in clarity was part of the shaping. Nothing about your silent season was wasted. It was a refining interval that matured your discernment and prepared you for the clarity that is now approaching. The quiet you feared was actually a gentle training, strengthening your ability to recognize truth without needing constant reassurance. The silence you questioned has already begun transitioning into direction, and that direction will become clearer with every step you take forward. There are parts of your growth that only occurred when no one was watching, and although those seasons felt isolated, they built resilience you will soon rely on. You may not realize how much transformation took place beneath the surface because inner strengthening rarely carries dramatic milestones. It unfolds through perseverance in ordinary days, emotional battles fought in private, and decisions made without applause or recognition. Understand that the hidden place was not a place of abandonment. It was a place of development. You needed room to grow without external pressure, without comparison, without the scrutiny of others. Your spirit required space to learn endurance, stability, and self-awareness in a way that only solitude could facilitate. During that hidden season, you confronted insecurities you once ignored. You learned how to manage disappointment without letting it harden your heart. Kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. You discovered capacities within yourself that would not have revealed themselves in more public or comfortable settings. You deepened your understanding of your boundaries, your strengths, your voice, and your values. Even the moments when you felt unnoticed worked in your favor because they created humility and introspection that will keep you grounded as greater opportunities arise. Hidden strengthening also formed emotional resilience. It taught you how to stay steady when circumstances shift. It taught you how to interpret setbacks without losing hope. It taught you to listen to intuition rather than external noise. Much of what you can now handle with calmness would have overwhelmed you years ago. You are stronger than you realize because the strengthening happened gradually, quietly, and persistently. Just because others did not witness your development does not diminish its significance. The hidden season has prepared you for visibility, responsibility, and impact that require a stable foundation. You will soon step into circumstances that call upon the very strength formed when you felt nothing was changing. The hidden place has completed its purpose. Now you carry its maturity into your unfolding chapter. The tension in your life may seem random or overwhelming, yet beneath the tension lies a deeper intention shaping you with more precision than you ever could. You have been walking through moments where your responsibilities feel heavier. Your decisions feel weightier, and your emotions feel stretched. You have wondered if something is wrong, if you have taken on too much, or if the pressure means you are drifting off course. I want you to recognize that the pressure you feel has meaning. It is stretching the parts of you that are ready for expansion. Pressure often reveals strengths you didn't realize you possessed. It draws out resilience, heightens awareness, and sharpens discernment. You have been adapting in ways that only challenges could provoke. Even when you feel weighed down, you are developing depth, patience, and mental clarity. Growth rarely emerges in comfort. It emerges through tension that pushes you to reach beyond old limitations. When circumstances feel tight, it forces you to reassess your priorities and let go of what no longer aligns with your direction. You become more intentional, more focused, more attuned to what truly matters. Pressure also prepares you for responsibility. The next season you are walking into will require the strength and insight being shaped within you. Without this phase, the opportunities ahead would feel overwhelming. Instead, you are being built up to handle them with confidence and maturity. The pressure isn't a sign of collapse, it is a sign of preparation. You are being polished, refined, and strengthened in ways that will make your future steps steadier. Although you may crave relief, you will eventually look back and see how this period sharpened your instincts, deepened your courage, and clarified your identity. Nothing about this pressure is wasted. It is shaping you for a greater chapter that is already approaching. Something within you is beginning to surface, something that has been quietly developing, waiting for a moment when you would finally be ready to recognize its significance. You sense this stirring in subtle ways, an urge to express yourself differently, a pull toward new environments, an inner confidence emerging after years of uncertainty. Understand that you are stepping into a chapter where what was once hidden within you begins to take shape in the open. The qualities you thought were insignificant or premature are becoming essential to your next steps. The strengths you once questioned are aligning with opportunities being prepared for you. The parts of yourself you kept tucked away, your ideas, your compassion, your discernment, your creativity, are entering a season where they can no longer remain quiet. This unveiling does not arrive suddenly. It unfolds in layers. It reveals abilities you developed while enduring challenges that once made you wonder why you were being stretched so deeply. You may not have realized it at the time, but those experiences were shaping depth, patience, and wisdom. Now that internal growth is rising to the surface, ready to flow into action, expression, and influence, this season will ask you to step forward in ways that test your courage, not your capability. You possess more readiness than your doubts allow you to believe. The unveiling will occur through clarity, moments when something clicks that once confused you. Through confidence, moments when you speak or act without second-guessing your worth. And through alignment, moments when the right doors open because you finally see your own value. Do not shrink back when this begins to happen. You are not being asked to perform. You are being invited to reveal what has always been inside you. The world around you is shifting in ways that make room for your voice, your presence, and your gifts. You are stepping into visibility, not for ego, but for purpose. This unveiling is a gentle affirmation that you are ready for more than you once imagined. There are parts of you that have remained dormant for so long that you assume they were forgotten, yet light is beginning to reach them again, and that light is intentional. Understand that nothing within you is permanently lost simply because it has been quiet or hidden. Dreams you once held with passion, but later set aside, have not disappeared. Talents you tucked away during seasons of survival still exist with full potential. Longings you buried under responsibilities or disappointment are rising again because the time has come for them to be acknowledged. Light reaches these areas not to expose, but to revive. You are being illuminated from within, reminded of desires you once dismissed and strengths you underestimated. This is not an emotional surge or temporary inspiration. It is a return to authenticity. You are remembering pieces of yourself that held meaning before life grew complicated. The light is also revealing truths about your identity. Truths that adversity or criticism tried to dim. You are starting to see the resilience you developed through years of perseverance, the empathy formed through pain, and the insight gained through reflection. As this light expands, you may feel a mixture of hope and discomfort. Hope, because you recognize something awakening inside you. Discomfort, because reviving old desires may require new courage. Allow the light to do its work. Let it clarify what still matters to you. Let it expose new possibilities you stopped believing in. Let it warm the areas of your life that grew cold due to neglect, disappointment, or exhaustion. The illumination is gentle, steady, and purposeful. What is resurfacing now carries relevance for your next season. The parts of you returning to life are not remnants of who you were. They are essential components of who you are becoming. Nothing that was buried within you is resurfacing without purpose. The light is guiding you back to yourself. Every experience you have walked through, even the ones you wish you could erase, contains threads of meaning that are now weaving themselves into a clearer pattern. You have moments in your past that you label as mistakes or failures. There are seasons you view as lost time, years where you felt stagnant, or paths you regret taking. Yet, I want you to see your journey from a perspective that transforms those moments into catalysts. Lessons came from places you thought were dead ends. Strength came from situations that tested you. Compassion formed in seasons where you felt misunderstood. Wisdom grew during times of uncertainty. Nothing was meaningless. Even relationships that ended shaped your boundaries, your understanding of connection, and your capacity to love with discernment. Jobs that drained you taught you what aligns with your purpose and what doesn't. Loss created endurance. Struggles cultivated resilience. You are a mosaic of every chapter, not defined by any single moment. The pieces that once felt scattered are becoming part of a larger, intentional design. You may not have appreciated the transformation while living through it, but now you will begin to notice how each part of your story contributes to your strength. Nothing is wasted because every experience refined you. Every disappointment redirected you. Every challenge matured you. Every success revealed what fulfills you. Every heartbreak expanded your capacity to feel, understand, and connect. You carry the imprint of everything you have endured, not as scars that weaken you, but as markers that prove your endurance. When you look at your life through this lens, gratitude begins to replace regret, and purpose begins to overshadow confusion. Your story is valuable, every chapter included. Every moment has contributed to the person you are becoming. You are not a product of wasted time. You are the result of intentional shaping. And now the meaning behind it all will begin to reveal itself. There were moments when the weight on your shoulders felt too heavy to carry, and yet you kept moving, unaware that your perseverance was being witnessed with a depth of compassion far greater than you imagined. You walked through seasons where the challenges didn't just test your strength. They stretched your identity, your hope, your trust, and even the way you saw yourself. I want you to fully acknowledge how much you have survived, because you often downplay the magnitude of what you have endured. There were days when your spirit felt afraid, when your emotions shifted unpredictably, and when you wondered if you would ever feel steady again. You faced conflicts that wore you down, both internally and externally. You navigated disappointments that struck deeply and unexpectedly. You endured losses that altered the way you understand connection, vulnerability, and resilience. And in those moments when you felt alone, unseen, or misunderstood, you were not abandoned. Even when you lacked the clarity to articulate what you were feeling, I understood every layer of your struggle. I watched the quiet strength you used to get out of bed on days when your heart felt heavy. I saw the courage behind every decision you made to keep going, even when the path ahead seemed uncertain. I saw how you tried to protect others while silently hurting. I saw the emotional battles you fought without witnesses. I saw the prayers formed through exhaustion, even when they never left your lips. Your storms were not invisible to me. Not a single tear, sigh, or moment of weariness went unnoticed. There were points where the storm felt relentless, as if life were asking more of you than you had to give. But each time you thought you had reached your limit, something within you continued to rise. That rising was not accidental. It revealed a resilience you often overlook. You learned to confront truths about yourself, your boundaries, and your capacity for growth. You discovered that even in your most vulnerable seasons, your strength held a depth you never knew existed. You rarely give yourself credit for how much you've endured and how much you've been preserved through it all. You sometimes attribute your endurance to luck, timing, or your own stubborn determination. But the truth is far more profound. Your survival contains layers of guidance, protection, and intervention you never realized were happening. Consider how many moments in your life could have spiraled into deeper pain. Yet, something redirected you, an unexpected shift, an inner knowing, a pause you didn't fully understand, or a person who appeared at just the right time. These were not coincidences. They were signs of a presence that walked with you through every difficulty. You survived emotional breaks that could have hardened your heart beyond repair. You survived relational wounds that could have closed you off from future connection. You survived disappointments that might have convinced you to stop trying. You survived decisions that could have shaped you in damaging ways had they unfolded differently. You survived circumstances that felt unfair, overwhelming, or devastating. Your survival is not a small thing. You often forget how close you came to giving up on yourself, not in a dramatic or destructive way, but in subtle ways. Accepting less than you deserved, settling for environments that diminished you, or silencing your voice because you feared rejection. Every time you chose to rise, even slightly, you responded to a gentle guidance working within you. Survival does not always look heroic. Often it looks like quiet persistence, emotional endurance, or small steps taken while feeling exhausted. Yet each of those steps mattered. You were carried through moments you did not know how to navigate. You were protected from outcomes you did not see forming. You were shielded from influences that would have harmed your spirit. You were strengthened in ways that only adversity could shape. You survived it not because you were abandoned to struggle, but because my hands surrounded you, steadying you when your faith wavered, calming your spirit when fear tried to overwhelm you, bringing clarity when confusion clouded your thoughts. Your survival is not an accident. It is evidence of intention. It is a testament to your resilience, yes, but also to the unseen support that surrounded you in every storm. When you look at your life and wonder how you made it through, understand that you were never carrying the weight alone. Survival is your testimony, and it reveals a partnership between your courage and my presence that has carried you this far. Something within your life is ready to be rebuilt, not with the fragments of old wounds, but with the strength and clarity you have gained from everything you have overcome. You have spent years navigating challenges that depleted parts of you, leaving you feeling worn, stretched, or uncertain about how to regain your inner balance. Yet, hear this clearly. Restoration is not a return to who you were before the struggles. It is the emergence of someone stronger, wiser, and more whole than ever. Restoration does not erase the past. Instead, it reclaims what was lost, renews what was damaged, and revitalizes what became stagnant. You are stepping into a season where the heaviness you once carried will begin to lift in ways that surprise you. The emotional weight that lingered for years will gradually loosen. Areas where you felt drained will begin to fill again with hope, steadiness, and life. You will regain parts of yourself you feared were gone forever. Confidence, creativity, peace, clarity, joy, or resilience. The shift will not happen all at once. It will unfold steadily, like dawn breaking across a dim landscape. Restoration also involves recalibration. You will start to notice relationships strengthening or realigning. Opportunities that once felt distant will begin to feel accessible. Your inner voice will grow clearer, guiding you with a steadiness you didn't have in earlier seasons. Restoration asks you to receive rather than strain. You will not need to force healing. You will not need to manufacture peace. What is being restored to you will come from a place of grace, not pressure. Your heart has endured enough. Now it is time for renewal, emotional, mental, spiritual, and even physical. The areas of your life that felt fragmented will begin to reconnect. The dreams you set aside will feel possible again. The hope you thought dimmed will brighten. Restoration means you are being rebuilt, not according to old wounds, but according to your true identity. You are entering a chapter where healing is not a distant possibility. It is an active process already unfolding. You are stepping into a season where what was once broken becomes whole, where what was once lost is redeemed, and where what was once heavy becomes light again. A quiet promise has been forming beneath the surface of your life. And even though you have grown used to living without certain things, that absence is not the final word. You have carried the weight of losses that shaped you in ways you did not choose. Relationships that faded before their time, opportunities that slipped away, seasons cut short, confidence disrupted, hope interrupted, and dreams you once held with both hands now lingering like distant memories. Yet, hear this with clarity. What was lost is not beyond redemption. Restoration never mirrors the past, it transcends it. What returns to you will not be fragile or incomplete. It will come in a form that honors who you have become and what you have learned. You may not realize how deeply certain losses affected you because you adapted, survived, and kept moving. But the H beneath your resilience reveals that parts of you still long for renewal, not to relive what was, but to receive what should have been. Restoration takes into account the maturity you now possess, the wisdom you gained through endurance, and the deeper identity that emerged through your struggles. There will be moments when you recognize pieces of your old joy resurfacing, not as nostalgia, but as something reborn. There will be relationships that heal in unexpected ways, opportunities that reappear with better timing, and dreams that return in forms more aligned with your present calling. Some things will come back through reconciliation, others through replacement, and others through internal healing that gives you what the previous season could not. Nothing is being restored as a mere repetition. Everything is being restored with intention, strength, and permanence. Your path has not been defined by what you lost. It is being shaped by what is returning, greater, deeper, and more secure than before. Let yourself believe that renewal is possible. Let your heart open again. The season ahead carries a gentleness and generosity that will touch the areas of your life that have waited the longest for restoration. Your longing for peace has echoed through your days and nights, sometimes spoken aloud, and sometimes carried silently in the corners of your mind where worry tries to settle. But peace is drawing near in ways that will feel unmistakably real. You have lived through stretches where your thoughts ran faster than your ability to untangle them, where your body held tension even when you tried to rest, and where your heart felt crowded with concerns that refused to quiet down. Understand that peace is not the absence of responsibility or conflict. It is a grounded assurance that steadies you regardless of circumstance. The peace you prayed for is forming through subtle internal shifts, moments where your reactions soften, your fears loosen, and your clarity strengthens. Peace is becoming possible because your heart is no longer willing to carry what drains your spirit. You are beginning to recognize where your boundaries need to be firmer, where your energy needs protection, and where your priorities require reordering. These realizations are not random. They are part of the peace you requested. Peace does not arrive only through calm environments. It grows as you learn to quiet the noise that once dictated your emotional world. It reveals itself in the ability to breathe more deeply, think more clearly, and choose more intentionally. You will soon notice that situations that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same power. You will feel yourself responding from a place of steadiness rather than reactivity. Peace will also settle into your relationships, guiding you toward healthier connections and helping you release dynamics that disrupt your emotional balance. The peace you prayed for is not temporary relief. It is a lasting shift in how you navigate uncertainty, conflict, and hope. It will anchor you, it will protect you, it will guide you, and it will allow you to live with a clarity and ease that your past seasons did not provide. Peace is not distant. It is unfolding right now within you. You have felt pressures lately that seem disproportionate to your circumstances, as though the challenge is intensified without clear explanation. But this increase is not random. It is a sign of transition. The tension surrounding you, the emotional battles rising unexpectedly, the moments of doubt that seem louder than usual, and the discouragement that appears out of nowhere. These are indicators that you are crossing into new territory within your life. Understand that increased pressure often accompanies spiritual, emotional, and personal advancement. You are stepping toward clarity, strength, purpose, and alignment, and resistance naturally arises when old patterns begin to lose their influence. The warfare is not a reflection of your weakness. It is evidence that something in you is awakening and expanding. The areas where you feel attacked are often the areas where you are about to grow the most. You may have noticed moments where discouragement hits harder, where doubt tries to cloud your progress, or where exhaustion makes it difficult to see your own strength. These feelings are real, but they do not speak the truth about your future. You are not regressing. You are being refined. Opposition increases near breakthrough because shifts in your identity and direction disrupt the internal and external forces that once held you in familiar patterns. The pressure you feel is partly the friction of transformation. You are shedding old emotional responses, outdated beliefs, and unnecessary burdens. The warfare feels heavier because your spirit is rising higher. Yet none of this conflict has the power to stop what is forming. You are stronger than the resistance suggests. You are standing so much closer to clarity than your confusion is letting you see right now. You are more aligned with your purpose than your doubts will allow you to believe. Please understand that the warfare and the tension you have been feeling are not signs that you should retreat. They are the confirmation that your next chapter is approaching. Keep moving. You are being strengthened by the very opposition that is trying to unsettle you. There are battles unfolding around you that you only sense in fragments, moments of sudden heaviness, unexpected discouragement, or tension that comes out of nowhere. Yet you are not facing a single moment of this alone. You are being defended in ways your eyes cannot yet see. If this message has stirred something in you, respond with pray below, or reach out for a short, focused prayer. Or simply share this with one person who needs to hear that they're not alone. You have felt the weight of invisible resistance pressing against your progress, as though something tries to slow you down every time you take a step toward your healing or your goals. These sensations are not your imagination. You are walking through a landscape where emotional and spiritual forces collide with your growth. And I know that the pressure can feel overwhelming, but I want you to understand that you are not unprotected in these moments. You have been surrounded by a strength that rises up on your behalf the exact moment the resistance increases. What you perceive as sudden heaviness is often just the aftershock of what has already been pushed away from you. I have stepped into battles for you before they ever reached your awareness. I have redirected influences that would have drained your spirit. I have silenced voices, both internal and external, that tried to convince you to give up. I have shielded your heart when emotional blows could have crushed it. You survived these moments, not because the battle was small, but because I intervened long before the struggle ever touched you. Kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. You may not always feel this protection directly, because my work often unfolds in the subtle, quiet spaces of your life. A sudden moment of calm in the middle of anxiety was not a coincidence. The insight that arrived in your mind just when you needed it was not random. The strength to get through a day you thought would break you was not your own doing alone. The opportunity that closed was not a punishment. It was a defense. The delay that frustrated you was not a denial, it was a shield. And that unexpected peace that sometimes settles over you like a soft blanket is a reminder that you are not fighting for survival. You are being fought for. This fight is not aggressive towards you. It is a protection around you. It is the quiet clearing of paths, the dissolving of threats, and the strengthening of your inner resilience. Pause for a moment. Take 3 deep breaths and say aloud, I am protected. Every struggle you walk through is bringing you into a deeper alignment with who you are becoming. You are not fragile. You are fortified. Even when you feel the trembling of the conflict, understand that the shaking comes not from your fear, but from the resistance losing its grip on you. I am ensuring that nothing meant to derail your purpose succeeds. What rises against you loses its strength before it reaches you. What tries to disturb your peace weakens the moment my presence surrounds you. You may feel the tension of the battle, but the victory has already begun to unfold in your favor. I am fighting for you, and that fight is securing the chapter ahead. There have been moments when isolation wrapped itself around your thoughts, convincing you that your struggles are yours to carry alone, but that feeling has never reflected the true reality of your path. You often move through life with a quiet strength, managing responsibilities, navigating pressure, and showing up for everyone else, even when your own heart feels heavy. Because you are so capable, others rarely recognize the weight you hold. Their lack of awareness sometimes deepens your sense of loneliness, making you wonder whether anyone truly sees the burdens you quietly endure. Yet I want you to grasp fully that you have never walked through a single season without companionship. Not just spiritually, but in ways that weave through your relationships and your unfolding story. Reach out. Send one message today to someone you trust. Could we talk? I could use a listening ear. Your journey has been filled with unseen support. There were moments when an unexpected conversation lifted your spirit, when someone reached out at precisely the right time, or when a stranger's kindness softened your tension. Those moments were not accidental. They were reminders that connection always surrounds you. Even when your emotions make you feel disconnected, you are supported more deeply than you realize. There are people who care for you in ways their words cannot fully express. There are relationships forming right now that will bring strength, comfort, and clarity into your life. There are hearts being prepared to walk with you in the chapters ahead, people whose presence will feel like alignment rather than obligation. You are not meant to navigate this life by yourself, nor are you expected to carry your struggles in silence. Part of your journey involves learning how to let others in, not because you are weak, but because you were created for connection, shared strength, and mutual understanding. Isolation tries to convince you that vulnerability is risky, but vulnerability is often the doorway to your deepest healing. As you move forward, you will encounter individuals who can meet you with sincerity, people who can listen without judgment, and relationships that will support the fullness of who you are. Your heart will not remain in solitude. Companionship, understanding, and unity are being woven into your future. If this resonates, write down one name of someone you can invite into your journey and send that invitation today. But even before these connections unfold, know that my presence has never left your side. You have been accompanied in every moment of confusion, every tear shed in private, every night where your thoughts felt overwhelming, and every day where you tried to make sense of your circumstances. You were never abandoned. You were never overlooked. You were never isolated, not from me and not from the support being prepared for you. You are seen, supported, and surrounded even in the moments when loneliness whispers otherwise. Inside you, something is stretching. An inner capacity is rising to meet the challenges and opportunities ahead, and that stretching is reshaping your faith into something more resilient, stable, and deeply rooted. You may have noticed that your beliefs are evolving, becoming more thoughtful, more grounded, and less dependent on the need for immediate clarity. This shift didn't appear overnight. It has been forming through every season that tested your patience, every moment that challenged your trust, and every circumstance that required you to choose hope. Even when uncertainty surrounded you, recognize that your faith is not being tested to expose your flaws. It is being strengthened to prepare you. Faith is not blind optimism. It is not the absence of questions. It is the ability to remain anchored while navigating what you cannot fully understand. Take one small step of trust today. Write the smallest action you can take toward a dream and commit to doing it. Your recent experiences have been stretching your endurance, not to break you, but to expand your capacity to trust. Each time you moved forward without full visibility, your faith grew. Each time you allowed yourself to hope after disappointment, your faith stretched. Each time you chose patience instead of panic, your faith deepened. These choices may have felt small, but they have been forming a foundation within you that will support future blessings. You are being shaped into someone who can carry responsibility without fear, who can pursue purpose without constant reassurance, and who can recognize my presence even in moments of silence. Strength and faith do not mean fewer obstacles. They mean greater stability in the face of them. You will notice shifts within yourself, a steadier peace during uncertain times, a clearer intuition guiding your decisions, and a deeper confidence in your own resilience. These are not random improvements. They are the outcomes of the inner strengthening occurring in this season. There will be moments ahead that call upon this strength, opportunities that require courage, relationships that require wisdom, and choices that require trust. Your faith is being fortified so you can walk confidently into these moments. Nothing about your growth has been wasted. Every challenge has contributed to the depth emerging within you. You are being shaped into someone who can navigate both storms and blessings with grace, wisdom, and clarity. Your faith is becoming unshakable, not because life becomes easier, but because you are becoming stronger. There is a tension inside you that you have struggled to name. The part of you that wants to trust completely, and the part that trembles at the thought of uncertainty. This tension has made you question whether your faith is strong enough. You've wondered if fear disqualifies you, weakens you, or proves that you don't believe deeply enough. Yet, understand that fear does not negate faith. It reveals the depth of what matters to you. You feel fear not because you lack belief, but because the outcomes you are stepping toward hold meaning for your heart. Faith is not the elimination of fear. It is the courage to move even when the trembling doesn't stop. The moments you spend worrying, analyzing, or imagining worst-case scenarios do not diminish you. They only show how much you care, how deeply invested you are in your growth, and how aware you are of the responsibility that comes with the choices ahead. Fear often rises when you are on the edge of becoming someone stronger. It emerges when your spirit senses elevation, expansion, or transformation. You fear stepping forward because you have learned from past heartbreak, disappointment, or loss. You fear losing what you have gained. You fear misinterpreting your intuition. You fear repeating cycles. These fears are familiar, yet your actions tell a different story. Every time you choose to hope, every time you show up even when your confidence wavers, every time you speak truth despite discomfort, every time you keep moving through uncertainty, you demonstrate faith. Faith is woven into your persistence, your humility, your openness, and your willingness to grow. It strengthens itself through practice, not perfection. Your fear does not make you weak, it makes you human. Your faith does not need to silence fear in order to function. It needs to coexist with it, rise above it, and guide you through it. Fear will quiet down as your clarity increases, and clarity will increase as you continue to lean into what is true, meaningful, and aligned with your purpose. What you are stepping into will require courage, and courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to believe in something greater than the uncertainty you feel. You already carry this courage. You have already exercised it. Allow yourself to recognize the strength that has been present in you all along. You are not failing because you feel afraid. You are growing because you are choosing to move forward anyway. There are moments when you look at your own reflection, not just the physical one, but the internal mirror of your strengths, flaws, and history. and you quietly question whether you are truly capable of stepping into the life you envision. You doubt whether your gifts are enough, whether your voice matters, whether your heart is strong enough, and whether your past mistakes have quietly disqualified you from greater possibilities. Understand that your doubts speak louder to you than they do to the truth of who you are. Doubt is not a measurement of your worth. It is a measurement of the gap between where you stand and where you are growing. You often underestimate your potential because you evaluate yourself through the lens of past struggles rather than the depth of resilience those struggles created. You question your ability because you compare yourself to unrealistic expectations from others and from yourself. You look at the distance between your current position and the goals you desire, and you assume that the gap is too wide. Yet, you don't see the internal strength you've built through every challenge you survived. You don't always recognize the depth of insight you carry because much of it was formed in silence. You don't always acknowledge your emotional intelligence because you've grown so used to navigating complexity that it feels normal to you. You are far more capable than your self-doubt suggests. The abilities you possess are not fragile or incomplete. They are developing, refining, and aligning with a purpose unfolding ahead of you. When uncertainty rises, it is not a sign that you lack capability. It is a sign that you are stepping into unfamiliar territory where old confidence levels cannot carry you. You are growing into new confidence, one that does not rely on comparison or external validation. You do not need to have every detail perfected in order to be effective. You do not need to feel fully prepared in order to make progress. Your ability increases through experience, and experience increases through willingness. Your doubt does not reflect the truth of your future. It only reflects the remnants of old seasons where you felt unsupported or misunderstood. The person you are now is not the person who struggled then. You carry more wisdom, insight, maturity, and self-awareness than your younger self ever had. Trust that the growth you have achieved will support the opportunities coming your way. You do not need to be flawless. You only need to be present, open, and willing. Your ability is rising to meet your purpose, even if you cannot see the full picture yet. There are parts of yourself you try to hide because you believe they make you less worthy. Your uncertainties, your mistakes, your emotional vulnerabilities. But none of these diminish your value or your capacity. You have been taught in subtle and overt ways that strength must always look effortless, polished, and confident. When you fall short of this impossible standard, you assume it diminishes your place in the world. Yet, hear this with clarity. Your weakness is not a barrier. It is a doorway to authenticity, growth, and deeper strength. Your vulnerability reveals your humanity. It allows you to connect, empathize, learn, and evolve. The weaknesses you fear others will judge are often the very areas where transformation begins. You believe your imperfections make you unqualified, but qualification is not rooted in perfection. It is rooted in willingness, integrity, humility, and the courage to rise after falling. Every moment of weakness you have faced has shaped character within you that cannot be taught in any other way. Weakness has softened your heart where pride might have hardened it. It has deepened your compassion. It has expanded your understanding of struggle. It has taught you how to value grace, not just for others, but for yourself. You are not disqualified by the parts of yourself that feel fragile. You are strengthened through them. The things you view as limitations may actually be areas where your greatest wisdom is being shaped. You don't need to hide your imperfections from me, nor do you need to hide them from yourself. Weakness is not something to be ashamed of. It is a reminder that you are still growing, still learning, still becoming, and growth is always the evidence of purpose at work. Every story you admire includes moments of profound human weakness transformed into strength. That same transformation has taken place within you. You are not measured by your flaws, but by your direction. You are not defined by your missteps, but by your resilience. You are not disqualified by your frailty, but elevated by the authenticity and humility it brings. Your weakness is not the end. It is the beginning of the strength I am forming within you, one that is deeper, truer, and more enduring than anything born from perfection. There have been thoughts that slipped into your mind like shadows, quiet, subtle, persistent, whispering that you are not enough, not chosen, not strong, not lovable, not capable. And those whispers have tried to shape how you see yourself. They often arrive during moments of exhaustion or emotional vulnerability, when your defenses feel low and your heart feels open to suggestion. These messages never announce their deception. They blend into your inner dialogue, making it difficult to recognize that they are not your voice. Understand that these whispers did not arise from your truth. They came from the residue of past wounds, past betrayals, past insecurities, and past seasons where you felt unsupported or overlooked. The enemy, whether through circumstance, memory, or fear, attempted to distort your perception of your own worth, because your identity carries more power than you realize. You sometimes judged yourself by moments of weakness, thinking they defined you. You assumed that because you struggled, you were failing. You interpreted emotional heaviness as evidence that you were flawed. But none of these interpretations represent who you truly are. Those deceptive thoughts targeted the areas of your heart where you hold the most potential: your compassion, your vision, your desire for growth, your longing for deeper purpose. If you were insignificant, your identity would not be under such attack. The very presence of resistance reveals your value. The efforts to undermine your confidence intensified during seasons where you were close to breakthrough, not because you were doing something wrong, but because you were getting closer to living from a place of strength. When you began questioning old patterns, the enemy tried to make you doubt your progress. When you started healing, discouragement tried to pull you back into familiar pain. When you reached for purpose, fear tried to weaken your resolve. But here's the truth: you were never disqualified. You were never unloved. You were never unseen. You were never insufficient. Those lies did not reflect reality. They reflected an attempt to keep you from embracing who you are. Your worth is not measured by your mistakes, your fatigue, or your uncertainties. It is inherent, unshakable, and deeply rooted in the fullness of your identity. You carry strength that cannot be erased by accusation. You carry purpose that cannot be undone by doubt. The enemy's whispers tried to shrink you, but the truth of who you are continues to rise. Your awareness of your worth is strengthening, and as it strengthens, those lies lose their influence. You are stepping into clarity, and clarity always exposes deception. You are worthy, fully, deeply, irrevocably, and nothing spoken against you carries the authority to change that. You've spent years trying to figure out who you are, shaped by experiences, relationships, expectations, and responsibilities. And through it all, you've wondered whether your identity rests on fragile foundations. But it doesn't. It rests in a truth far more secure. The world around you often pressures you to define yourself by achievement, approval, appearance, or success. At times, you tried to mold yourself into versions that others would accept, hoping it would bring belonging or validation. But every time you tried to fit into someone else's expectations, something inside you felt misaligned. The discomfort wasn't failure. It was your spirit protecting your true identity. Understand that who you are is not determined by changing circumstances. Your identity is not shaped by the opinions that shift, disappointments that occur, or failures that happen along the way. Your identity is anchored in something constant, steady, and unmovable. You have grown, changed, shed old patterns, and embraced new strengths. And all of that growth reflects your true identity unfolding, not hiding. Even the moments when you felt lost did not erase your essence. They merely revealed areas where clarity was needed. When you faced rejection, your identity remained intact. When someone misunderstood you, it did not redefine you. When you struggled with self-doubt, it did not diminish the truth of who you are. When life pushed you into transitions you didn't expect, your identity remained safe, waiting for you to reconnect with it. Your authentic self cannot be taken from you. It cannot be destroyed by heartbreak. It cannot be altered by failure. It cannot be overshadowed by fear. Your identity was formed with intention, and nothing in your life has the authority to rewrite it. You sometimes look at your past and wonder if your mistakes changed your value. But your worth is not fragile enough to be undone by human error. You sometimes look at your present and question whether your uncertainty defines you. But uncertainty only means you are still learning. You sometimes worry about your future and wonder if you will ever feel confident in who you are becoming. But your identity is not something you must chase. It is something you uncover step by step. You are held, known, and understood fully. You are shaped by purpose, not performance. You are guided by truth, not insecurity. You are more stable than your circumstances imply because your identity is rooted in something deeper than emotion or achievement. It is safe, unchanging, and deeply established in a foundation that remains steady even when everything else shifts. You are secure, you are known, and you are becoming more yourself with every step forward. Even if you don't always feel it, every phase of your story has been shaping you into the person you were meant to grow into. And that growth is now becoming visible in ways you can no longer ignore. You sometimes question your progress because transformation rarely feels dramatic in real time. It often unfolds in quiet choices, subtle shifts, and internal realizations that accumulate gradually. Yet recognize that who you are today is the result of years of resilience, reflection, healing, and refinement. You're not who you used to be, and you're not finished becoming who you are meant to be. But the evolution is undeniable. You have outgrown old fears, even if remnants still whisper occasionally. You have replaced old patterns with healthy ones, even if the changes felt slow. You have strengthened your emotional awareness, even if you still struggle at times. You have embraced boundaries, spoken truths, sought healing, acknowledged needs, and chosen courage over avoidance. These are not small steps. They mark the shaping of identity, character, and purpose. Becoming is not an instant transformation. It is a progression that reveals your depth piece by piece. There were seasons when you questioned whether you were stagnating, yet internally, your heart was restructuring itself. You processed pain in ways that expanded your compassion. You revisited memories with new understanding. You confronted behaviors that no longer aligned with who you wanted to be. All of these moments form the internal architecture of who you are becoming. The version of you emerging now is grounded, intentional, and far more aligned with truth than ever before. You may not fully recognize yourself yet, because you're stepping out of old identities that were shaped by survival, external expectations, or past wounds. But as you shed those layers, you will discover freedom you once believed was unreachable. The clarity you are gaining is part of this becoming. The wisdom you're developing is part of this becoming. The dreams resurfacing in your heart are part of this becoming. And the courage rising within you is evidence that you are stepping into alignment with your true design. Who you are becoming is not fragile. It is not temporary. It is not accidental. It is the result of everything you've walked through, everything you've learned, and everything you've chosen. You are maturing into a version of yourself that reflects depth, strength, honesty, and purpose. This becoming is sacred, intentional, and unstoppable. You are not behind, and you are not lost. You are unfolding exactly as you were meant to. There is a question that has lingered quietly in your heart, an internal longing for confirmation, for direction, for something unmistakably clear. Even though you've kept moving, you've been carrying a subtle ache for reassurance. You've wondered if you should take the next step, if the timing is right, if the path you feel drawn toward is truly aligned with your purpose. You've been searching for hints in conversations, in circumstances, in your own emotions, trying to discern whether your desires stem from truth or simply from hope. Understand that the sign you've been waiting for has not been withheld from you. It has been forming within you. Signs are not always loud, dramatic, or external. Often they begin as subtle inner shifts, peace that suddenly interrupts anxiety, inspiration that returns to a dream you thought you buried, courage that rises even when fear lingers, or clarity that appears in moments when you least expect it. You may assume a sign must arrive as something extraordinary, but extraordinary guidance often reveals itself through ordinary moments that carry an unusual weight. Reflect on the conversations that recently stirred your heart, the opportunities that drew your attention unexpectedly, the ideas that refused to leave you, and the sense of restlessness that pushes you away from what no longer aligns. These inner signals are not random. They are calibrated to your spirit's readiness. Waiting for a sign does not mean waiting for a miracle to fall from the sky. It means recognizing the alignment unfolding inside you. The fact that certain doors no longer feel right is a sign. The fact that you are craving something deeper is a sign. The fact that your spirit becomes unsettled when you consider returning to old patterns is a sign. You are further along than you think, and the clarity you long for is emerging piece by piece. You've been waiting externally for what has already begun internally. Your desire for confirmation comes from a good place. It shows that you want to move with wisdom, not impulse. But wisdom often manifests as intuition refined by experience. You've gained enough insight, enough awareness, and enough maturity to sense what aligns with your purpose. The sign you've been waiting for is not a single event. It is the accumulation of everything you've been feeling, noticing, resisting, and yearning for. Listen to what your spirit keeps bringing to the surface. That inner pull is not imagination, it is guidance, and it is ready to lead you forward. You often feel pressure to understand every detail before taking a step. Yet life rarely reveals its entire road at once, and that uncertainty can create a level of anxiety you seldom admit. You want clarity because clarity feels like safety. You want certainty because certainty feels like control. And when your view is limited, you wonder whether you can truly trust the direction you feel drawn toward. Understand that trust is not based on full visibility. It is based on assurance that you are not walking alone. Even when you cannot see the full picture, you are being guided by a wisdom that perceives far beyond your present moment. Unclear paths often cause tension because your mind wants explanation, while your spirit wants direction, and the two rarely align perfectly. When you cannot map out every step, part of you hesitates. You fear making mistakes. You fear stepping outside your purpose. You fear losing what you've worked to build. But consider this. Many of the most transformative moments of your life came through paths you did not fully understand at first. Growth often begins in uncertainty. Breakthrough often begins in ambiguity. Healing often begins in places where clarity has not yet arrived. When the path seems unclear, it is often because the season is shifting faster than your expectations. Trusting me does not mean silencing your thoughts. It means steadying your heart. It means recognizing that your intuition, your emerging desires, and your inner alignment are not accidents. They are signs of guidance. When you feel a quiet nudge toward change, that nudge carries intention. When doors close abruptly, the timing is purposeful. When something inside you resists settling, the resistance is protection. The path ahead will not always be obvious, but it will always be aligned. You can move forward without perfect vision. You can begin without knowing the ending. Kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. You can trust even when you do not fully understand. What lies ahead is not a trap. Idison Unfolding, you will not be abandoned halfway through your journey. You will not be misled into confusion. You will not be asked to walk into chaos without covering. Trust is your anchor when clarity feels incomplete, and your path will become visible in the exact moments you need it. You are safe to move even without seeing everything. Deep within you are wounds that rarely make their way into conversation. Places where your heart still holds. Memories, disappointments, and fears you've learned to manage silently. Those hidden places are receiving attention even when you are not consciously addressing them. You've become skilled at functioning despite your pain. You know how to show strength while feeling fragile. You know how to keep moving even when something inside you needs rest. Because of this, people around you often miss the depth of what you carry. Sometimes, even you overlook the wounds that still need tending simply because you've grown accustomed to them. Understand that healing does not require constant analysis or emotional excavation. Some healing takes place quietly beneath your awareness, like a gentle rewiring of your inner world. You may not notice it at first, but there are areas where your reactions are softening, where old triggers are losing their power, and where memories that once felt sharp now feel distant. Healing often begins internally, long before you see external results. There are parts of you that learn to hide, the disappointment you never voiced, the heartbreak you minimized, the insecurity you carried with forced confidence. the shame you tucked away because you feared being misunderstood. These hidden wounds shape the way you love, trust, protect yourself, and interpret your worth. Yet none of them have been ignored. They are being touched, soothed, and transformed in ways that do not overwhelm your spirit. You may not notice it at first, but there are areas where your reactions are softening, where old triggers are losing their power, and where memories that once felt sharp now feel distant. Healing often begins internally, long before you see external results. There are parts of you that learn to hide, the disappointment you never voiced, the heartbreak you minimized, the insecurity you carried with forced confidence, the shame you tucked away because you feared being misunderstood. These hidden wounds shape the way you love, trust, protect yourself, and interpret your worth. Journal for 5 minutes. Name one hidden wound and one gentle step you'll take toward healing it this week. You will notice yourself reacting differently, choosing differently, and believing differently. These shifts are not accidental. They are signs of repair. Healing does not erase your story. It integrates it. It allows you to carry your past without being controlled by it. You will not spend your life nursing the same wounds. The parts of you that you've hidden are being restored with tenderness and intention. The hurt that shaped your past will not define your future. The healing you've longed for, quiet, deep, transformative, is already at work within you. There are depths within you, quiet emotions, unspoken worries, old disappointments, fragile hopes that you often keep tucked away, believing they are too small, too complicated, or too personal for anyone to truly care about. Yet, none of them go unnoticed. You've learned to carry yourself with strength in public, to present resilience even when your inner world feels tender, and to downplay your needs because you're used to being the strong one for others. But understand this clearly: the hidden movements of your heart hold immense value. Your sadness matters, your joy matters, your confusion matters, your longing matters, your fears matter. Nothing about your emotional landscape is insignificant to me. There are moments when you've betrayed your own feelings for the sake of peace, when you've silenced your own voice to avoid conflict, when you've carried burdens because you didn't want to inconvenience anyone. You've become so accustomed to managing your emotions privately that you sometimes forget your heart deserves gentleness, acknowledgement, and care. The things that bother you, even the ones you rationalize away, carry meaning. The things that bring you peace, even the subtle ones, carry direction. The things that break you open, even the ones you try to dismiss quickly, carry revelation. Your heart has been through much more than you show. It has endured loss, change, disappointment, pressure, and transitions. And yet it continues to love, to hope, to dream, to forgive, and to trust again, even after being shaken. Your emotional resilience is not weakness, it is beauty. It is evidence of the depth within you. Even when your heart feels guarded or tired, it is still precious, still worthy, and still known. Your heart matters because it holds the very essence of who you are. Your values, your compassion, your capacity for connection, your purpose, and your tenderness. Every emotion you feel is a signal, not an inconvenience. Your heart is not too much, is not too needy, is not too complicated, it is not too broken. It is understood in ways deeper than you understand yourself. The healing, clarity, and peace you desire are not denied to you. They are already being woven into your journey. Your heart is safe, seen, and deeply cared for. There are burdens you've held on to for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to be supported. That self-reliance, though admirable, has exhausted you in ways you rarely admit. You've taught yourself to be the dependable one, the resilient one, the problem solver, the strong presence who keeps moving regardless of your internal weight. Yet the responsibilities you've taken on, emotionally, mentally, financially, relationally, have pulled on your spirit more than you acknowledge. Understand that you were never meant to carry every worry, every expectation, every disappointment, or every unanswered question by yourself. You often shoulder emotional loads quietly, believing that expressing your needs will burden others or make you appear weak. You downplay your stress to avoid worrying those around you. You push through heaviness because you think you have no other choice. But the truth is that the load you're carrying has been pressing against your spirit, creating fatigue that seeps into your decisions, your confidence, and your rest. Let me carry what feels so heavy. It is not an abandonment of responsibility. It is a partnership. It is a release. It is surrender in the healthiest sense. When you allow yourself to lean instead of holding everything tightly, something inside you softens. Your thoughts slow down, your breath steadies, your heart opens, and the tension that has wrapped itself around your chest begins to loosen. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to carry the weight of outcomes, relationships, or timelines. Some battles are not yours to fight alone. Some questions are not yours to solve immediately. Some fears are not meant to dictate your direction. Letting me carry what overwhelms you allows you to feel again, not just the heaviness, but the hope buried beneath it. It allows you to heal in ways that constant strength never could. It allows you to rest without guilt. You are not abandoning your responsibilities. You are releasing the pressure that was never meant to be yours. Lean not because you cannot stand, but because you deserve to feel supported. Surrender not because you are defeated, but because relief is ready to meet you. You do not have to carry this alone. You never did. There was a time when trusting me felt natural, when your hope felt steady, your faith felt alive, and your spirit felt grounded. But life has shaken you, and the weight of those experiences has made trust feel more fragile than it once did. You've gone through seasons where prayers felt unanswered, where timing felt confusing, where outcomes didn't match your expectations. Those moments quietly shaped your relationship with trust, not because you stopped believing, but because you began to protect your heart from disappointment. You told yourself you still had faith, and you do, but part of your confidence became guarded. Understand that I am rebuilding your trust not through force, but through gentleness. You will notice it happening gradually, through moments of unexpected comfort, through clarity that arrives when you need it, through opportunities that align at the perfect moment, through inner peace that interrupts anxiety, and through the quiet realization that you are being guided even when you don't see the full path ahead. Confidence in me is not about ignoring your past wounds. It is about healing them until they no longer dictate your expectations. You've learned to brace yourself emotionally, to stay cautious, to assume the worst so disappointment won't sting as deeply. But those patterns have also kept you from walking fully in the assurance your spirit once held. You are entering a season where trust will be restored, not by what you feel pressured to believe, but by what you begin to experience again. The closeness, the peace, the alignment, the sense of being carried, guided, and understood. Your renewed confidence will not be naive. It will be mature, grounded in what you have survived. It will come from seeing how even your hardest moments produced purpose, how closed doors redirected you, how inner healing reshaped you, and how the path ahead is opening in ways that affirm your value. You are not returning to old faith. You are stepping into deeper faith, one that honors your history, strengthens your identity, and rebuilds trust from a place of truth rather than fear. Your confidence in me is rising again, not because you forced it, but because you are beginning to see how deeply you have been held all along. You have underestimated your own strength for far too long, and the quiet uncertainty you feel about your worth or your capability is now being unraveled in ways that will surprise you. You often see your flaws more clearly than your gifts, your failures more vividly than your triumphs, and your shortcomings more loudly than your progress. This imbalance has caused you to shrink yourself in situations where you were fully capable, to question your intuition when it was right all along, and to hold back from opportunities that were meant for you. Understand that your confidence is not something you lost. It is something buried beneath layers of exhaustion, disappointment, criticism, and self-protection. And now those layers are being lifted. You have walked through seasons that made you second-guess your decisions, your dreams, your voice, and your direction. Perhaps you listened to people who didn't see you clearly. Perhaps you followed paths that didn't honor your identity. Perhaps life placed you in environments where your strengths were overlooked. All of this leaves marks, yet none of these marks define you. They simply explain why you've doubted yourself. The truth is that you carry wisdom formed through trial, endurance shaped through adversity, and insight born from experience. You are far more competent, intuitive, and resilient than your self-doubt suggests. You will begin to notice your confidence returning as you step into spaces that feel aligned with who you are becoming. You will speak and realize your words carry weight. You will make decisions and discover they lead to good outcomes. You'll trust your instincts and see them confirmed. You'll take risks and watch them unfold with unexpected grace. These moments will not happen by accident. They are part of a restoration designed to help you see yourself with clarity rather than insecurity. Your confidence will grow as you release outdated narratives, stories about your limitations that are no longer true. Confidence does not come from perfection. It comes from recognizing the strength that has always lived within you. You are not fragile. You are not unqualified. You are not an imposter. You are someone who has been shaped through depth and strengthened through truth. And now the confidence you once questioned is rising again, not built on ego or comparison, but on authenticity. You are beginning to recognize your own value, and that recognition will change everything. You often look at the places where you feel inexperienced, insecure, or inadequate, and assume they disqualify you. But those very areas hold the potential for the greatest transformation and purpose in your life. You spend so much time trying to fix what you see as weaknesses or limitations, believing that only the polished parts of you can be used for something meaningful. But understand that the places where you feel unprepared are often the places where grace flows most freely. When you feel unqualified, it's usually because you've compared yourself to someone who has walked a different path. You judge your beginning against someone else's midpoint. You measure your growth by standards that have nothing to do with your story. But unqualification, as you perceive it, is often a sign that you are being drawn into something greater than your current understanding. It means you are stepping into territory where your dependence deepens, where your humility is preserved, and where your potential expands. The areas where you feel least capable are often the areas where your authenticity shines. When you step into something uncertain, you bring sincerity. When you admit you don't know everything, you create space for growth. When you operate beyond your comfort zone, you awaken capacities that would have remained dormant. These so-called weaknesses are often the very places where your deepest wisdom will form. Consider how many times in your life you felt unprepared, yet managed to rise, adapt, learn, and flourish. Those moments were not exceptions. They revealed your ability to grow under pressure. You may not feel qualified for the relationships you desire, the opportunities you sense coming, or the dreams that keep resurfacing. But qualification is not about having every skill perfected. It's about being willing to show up with honesty, courage, and humility. The world does not need your perfection. It needs your authenticity. It needs your vulnerability. It needs the unique combination of strength and softness that only you carry. What you see as unqualified, I see as available. What you see as lacking, I see as potential. What you see as imperfection, I see as the doorway to something profound. Do not hold back because you question your readiness. You are more prepared than you realize, and your perceived weaknesses will become the very areas where your purpose shines brightest. There are opportunities forming around you that you haven't yet seen, but you can already feel their pull. Anticipation is rising in your spirit, signaling that something new is approaching. Even though you cannot fully grasp the details, you sense movement. You sense alignment. You sense that certain aspects of your life are shifting to make space for what's coming. Understand that the doors opening ahead of you are not random. They have been prepared through seasons of refining, waiting, learning, and healing. You've walked through doors before that weren't meant for you. Doors that looked promising but drained you. Doors that opened too early. Doors that closed abruptly. Doors that led to lessons instead of breakthroughs. Those experiences taught you discernment. They taught you to recognize authenticity rather than illusion. They strengthened your intuition so you could sense what aligns with your spirit and what does not. Now the doors being prepared are different. Not rushed, not forced, not fragile. These are doors that fit you. New doors open when you've grown beyond old environments. They open when you're ready to handle blessings without losing yourself. They open when your heart is softened in the right areas and strengthened in others. They open when purpose and timing align. You may not realize how much you've changed, but the very dreams that once felt too big now match your maturity. The opportunities that once felt intimidating now feel within reach. The desires you thought were unrealistic now feel achievable. These new doors will not compete with your peace. They will enhance it. They will not break you. They will build you. They will not confuse you. They will clarify you. Some doors will open gradually, revealing themselves in small steps. Others will open suddenly, surprising you with their clarity. But each one will serve your expansion. You won't have to force these openings. You won't have to compromise your worth. You won't have to beg for acceptance. The new doors opening for you will require alignment, not struggle. As you walk through them, you will look back and realize that everything you endured, everything you released, everything you questioned, and everything you survived prepared you perfectly for what's next. You are approaching a season of meaningful, intentional openings, and every door will lead you deeper into who you were designed to become. There are endings unfolding in your life that you didn't initiate, doors closing softly, abruptly, or unexpectedly. And although these closures may leave you feeling uncertain, they are not signs of loss. They are signs of preparation. You've tried to hold certain doors open out of loyalty, fear, familiarity, or nostalgia, hoping that something might still change, hoping that the old season could somehow adapt to your new growth. But understand that not every door that once served you is meant to remain open. Some chapters conclude not because you failed, but because their purpose is fulfilled. When growth accelerates, misaligned spaces begin to dissolve. When your spirit elevates, connections that no longer match your direction naturally loosen. You may feel discomfort as these transitions occur, but the discomfort itself is an indicator that you've outgrown what once felt right. Old doors are closing because your identity has shifted, quietly at first, then noticeably, and now undeniably. There are places where you no longer belong, not because you are too much, but because you are no longer willing to shrink. There are relationships that cannot follow you into your next season because they were designed for a previous version of you. There are commitments, mindsets, and environments that once played essential roles, but now hinder your expansion. As you evolve, life reorganizes itself around you. This is why certain opportunities no longer resonate and why certain patterns no longer feel sustainable. Transition happens not only through new beginnings, but through necessary conclusions. You may look at some of these closures with sadness or confusion, but clarity will come. You will see how each closed door protected your energy, preserved your purpose, and redirected you toward alignment. You will recognize that staying in those old spaces would have limited your growth. You will understand that the endings were not punishment, they were intervention. Nothing meaningful is being taken from you. You are being released from what cannot sustain the weight of your becoming. The closed doors are making room for environments that nurture your spirit, relationships that honor your heart, and opportunities that match your identity. Better is not a vague promise. It is the natural result of letting go of what no longer fits. You are stepping into a chapter where every open door ahead will reflect the truth of who you are becoming. There have been seasons where you felt misunderstood, unsupported, or out of place, and those experiences left you questioning whether you would ever find relationships that truly resonate with your heart. But that question is being answered now through alignment that is quietly forming around you. You've carried friendships, partnerships, and connections that required you to lessen parts of yourself to maintain harmony. You've endured conversations where your depth felt out of place, your empathy was overlooked, or your truth felt unwelcome. You learned to adjust, to dim, to accommodate. And while those moments shaped resilience, they also created a longing within you for relationships where you could fully exhale. Understand that your life is entering a season where the people meant for you people aligned with your purpose, your values, your emotional depth, your growth, are being positioned to enter your path. These new connections will not require you to apologize for who you are. They will not drain you with one-sided dynamics. They will not weaponize your vulnerability or misinterpret your intentions. Instead, they will understand you in ways that feel refreshing. They will affirm your direction. They will support your healing. They will inspire your courage. They will challenge you in ways that strengthen rather than diminish you. You spent too many seasons trying to connect in spaces where your presence was undervalued, simply because those around you could not see your depth. But the misalignment you felt was not rejection. It was preparation. It was making room for relationships built on mutual respect, emotional safety, spiritual compatibility, and genuine connection. These relationships may be new or may come through the restoration of old bonds that have matured. Some will walk beside you for life, others for a meaningful season, but all will play a role in your unfolding purpose. You will recognize them by the peace you feel, by the clarity they bring, by the way your spirit relaxes in their presence. You will feel seen without performing. You will feel valued without earning. You will feel supported without asking. These people are not replacements for what you've lost. They are answers to what you've prayed for silently. You are not meant to journey alone. The right people are being aligned with your path at the exact moment you are becoming ready to receive them. There is a quiet shift happening inside you, a sense of direction forming beneath your thoughts, a pull towards something meaningful, a growing awareness that your life is supposed to carry deeper impact. And this shift is not imagined, it is intentional. You've spent years walking through experiences that shaped your resilience, sharpened your discernment, and deepened your empathy. You've learned through triumph, but also through heartbreak and uncertainty. These experiences were not scattered. They were strategic. They have created a foundation within you that is now ready to support purpose in ways you couldn't have carried before. Understand that alignment with purpose does not happen through pressure. It happens through readiness. Your purpose is not a single task or calling. It is a weaving of your gifts, your character, your experiences, your strengths, your healing, and your story. You are being aligned with a version of yourself that is bold enough to step forward, mature enough to stay grounded, and healed enough to lead with clarity. You may feel restless because you sense that you are meant for more. You may feel unsettled because your old roles, routines, and environments no longer satisfy your spirit. This internal tension is not confusion. It is awakening. Alignment comes through realizing what no longer belongs and embracing what now resonates. It comes through understanding the ways you've been held, guided, and shaped. It comes through recognizing your own growth. Purpose is rising within you, calling you into spaces where your presence brings change, where your voice carries influence, and where your gifts touch others in ways you cannot yet imagine. Some of the ideas forming in your mind are not random. They are seeds. Some of the passions resurfacing are not nostalgia. They are direction. Some of the opportunities approaching are not coincidences. They are invitations. You are not stepping into purpose unprepared. Everything you've endured has strengthened you for what's ahead. Your steps will become clearer. Your desires will become more focused. Your confidence will grow. The alignment has already begun. You are moving into the life you were designed to live, not through striving, but through becoming. There is a stirring happening deep within you, an inner movement that feels both unfamiliar and strangely natural, as if a part of you that has slept for years is beginning to open its eyes. You may not fully recognize this awakening yet, but you feel traces of it, a renewed desire to create, a sudden clarity about what inspires you, an unexpected confidence rising in areas where you once felt unsure. I invite you to see that what is awakening in you is not accidental. Wisdom shaped through hardship, creativity that once felt dormant, abilities that were overshadowed by survival, strength hidden beneath insecurity. All of these gifts are beginning to surface because the season you are entering finally has room for them. You've long believed that only certain parts of you were valuable while other parts were extra, inconsistent, or unusable. But those overlooked qualities, your sensitivity, your insight, your ability to notice what others miss, your depth of thought, your capacity for compassion, your intuition that whispers truth before logic arrives. These are gifts. You didn't cultivate them intentionally. Life formed them in you. Every challenge shaped a different facet. Every loss added depth. Every season of waiting strengthened discernment. You may wonder why these gifts are awakening now. The reason is simple. You are finally becoming someone who can carry them without fear. You are learning to trust your voice. You are learning to honor your uniqueness. You are learning to embrace your calling without diluting yourself for comfort or approval. Kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. Gifts often remain hidden until the heart is ready to handle the weight of them. And now you are ready. These gifts will influence how you make decisions, how you solve problems, how you speak, how you connect, and how you step into new opportunities. They will draw the right people, open the right doors, and elevate your path in ways you couldn't orchestrate. You don't need to rush or force this awakening. You only need to stay aware, receptive, and willing. What is rising in you is not temporary inspiration. It is identity, it is purpose, it is the uncovering of who you truly are beneath the layers of fear, expectation, and fatigue. You are discovering capacities that will become central to your future. Trust this awakening. It is leading you forward. Something in you is changing so profoundly that even you cannot fully grasp the extent of it yet. The transformation taking place will reveal strengths, confidence, and clarity you didn't realize you were capable of. You may not see it in the mirror, but you feel it in your thoughts, in your reactions, in your shifting desires, and in the way certain old patterns no longer appeal to you. Recognize that you are not just improving, you are evolving. Your identity is undergoing refinement, elevation, and deepening. You are no longer willing to entertain what drains you. You are no longer attracted to chaos disguised as connection. You are no longer comfortable with settling for roles, expectations, or environments that shrink you. These inner boundaries aren't random. They are evidence of the new version of you preparing to step forward. With every moment of clarity, every boundary you establish, every truth you embrace, and every dream that resurfaces, you are shaping a future version of yourself who walks with greater purpose and stability. The version of you emerging will surprise you because it will hold a level of self-respect that once felt impossible. It will make decisions without fear. It will speak without hesitation. It will pursue goals that once intimidated you. It will forgive where bitterness tried to linger. It will release what no longer aligns. It will embrace opportunities you once felt unqualified for. This version of you isn't an idealized fantasy. It is the result of everything you have survived and everything you have learned. You may feel tension now because transformation disrupts familiarity. You may feel emotional stretching because your spirit is moving out of old limitations. But do not resist this growth. Let yourself rise into the identity forming within you. You will look back soon and barely recognize the person you used to be, not out of shame, but out of gratitude for how far you've come. You are not becoming someone different. You are becoming someone truer. And the truth will empower you in ways you once believed were out of reach. The shift happening in your life will not begin with loud announcements or sudden applause. It will begin quietly, almost subtly. Yet, its effects will echo through every part of your journey in ways no one can ignore. You've experienced seasons of striving where your effort felt visible, but your growth felt hidden. Now you are entering a season where the growth you cultivated in silence will produce visible elevation. Understand that elevation doesn't always arrive with fanfare. It often arrives through alignment. Your spirit is becoming clearer. Your decisions are becoming wiser. Your boundaries are becoming firmer. Your confidence is becoming steadier. These shifts may not look dramatic from the outside, but internally, they are transforming your trajectory. Elevation begins when you refuse to repeat old cycles. It begins when you choose truth over comfort. It begins when you honor your calling over convenience. And you've been doing that quietly, consistently, even when no one saw the work. People may not understand how much inner work you've done. They may not realize how many nights you processed your fears, how many times you had to rebuild your self-worth, how many decisions you made to protect your peace. But the results of that inner labor will soon be impossible to overlook. Elevation happens when inner alignment creates outer opportunity, and you are reaching that convergence point. Now the doors opening for you will not open with noise, but with certainty. The relationships forming will not come with drama, but with authenticity. The opportunities arriving will not require you to beg or prove yourself. They will recognize the identity you've grown into. You will rise steadily, naturally, and without the chaos that once surrounded your growth. Your elevation will be quiet because it is rooted in depth, not performance, but it will be undeniable because it is guided by purpose, not pride. You are not stepping into luck, you are stepping into alignment, and alignment always lifts. There is a refining happening within you, an inner sharpening that feels subtle yet unmistakable, as if the fog that once clouded your decisions is beginning to lift. You may not realize how often you used to make choices from fear, habit, or emotional fatigue rather than from genuine alignment, but now something in you is shifting. You are noticing what drains you more quickly. You are recognizing what inspires you more easily. You are discerning intentions with greater precision. Understand that this clarity is not emerging by accident. It is being developed intentionally within you, because your next season requires a level of discernment deeper than anything you've needed before. Clarity doesn't always arrive as a loud revelation. More often, it comes through subtle nudges, an unusual discomfort around something that once felt fine, a quiet peace about a direction that used to intimidate you, or a deeper awareness of which environments align with your growth and which ones suffocate it. You are learning to listen to these signals, not as random emotions, but as guidance. You are learning to pause before acting, reflect before responding, and trust the wisdom rising from within. This inner clarity is making your decisions cleaner, your boundaries firmer, and your focus stronger. You will notice that confusion fades when you stop fighting what your spirit has already revealed. Clarity comes when you honor the truth you feel, even when it disrupts familiar routines. You will not need to wrestle endlessly with choices that once overwhelmed you. You will sense the right path sooner, release the wrong ones quicker, and move forward with greater confidence. This clarity will extend into relationships, calling, opportunities, habits, and identity. It will illuminate the hidden motives behind situations, helping you choose what is healthy, honest, and aligned. Your clarity is not meant to make life rigid. It is meant to make life purposeful. It frees you from indecision. It protects you from distractions. It positions you for alignment. You are no longer walking blindly. You are walking with air-fined inner compass. What once confused you will now feel obvious. What once overwhelmed you will now feel manageable. What once seemed unclear will now reveal itself in perfect timing. Clarity is not just coming. It is becoming part of who you are. You're beginning to sense things you once overlooked. Subtle shifts in atmosphere, hidden intentions in conversations, quiet warnings in your spirit. This growing awareness is evidence that you are stepping into deeper maturity. Discernment is not suspicion. It is not cynicism. It is not anxiety disguised as intuition. Understand that discernment is a form of protection, insight, and direction that becomes sharper as your character evolves. You are learning to see beyond the surface, to recognize patterns early, and to hear truth even when it whispers. There were seasons when you ignored your intuition because doubt overshadowed it. You talked yourself out of signals that later proved accurate. You stayed in environments long after your spirit felt unsettled because you valued stability over truth. But now you are learning to trust the alignment inside you. You are learning to distinguish between genuine peace and forced acceptance, between authentic connection and convenient companionship, between opportunities that honor your purpose and those that merely distract you. Discernment is sharpening because your heart is more open to truth than ever before. You are no longer interested in illusions, flattery, or temporary comfort. You want what is real, what is pure, what sustains you long term. This desire creates space for discernment to grow. You will begin noticing red flags sooner and honoring them more confidently. You will sense when someone's words do not match their intentions. You will feel when a path is meant for you before logic confirms it. You will know when to move forward and when to wait, not through guesswork, but through grounded intuition. Sharper discernment will help you avoid unnecessary pain, wasted time, and draining commitments. It will align you with relationships that match your integrity, opportunities that support your purpose, and environments that nurture your spirit. It will also help you recognize your own inner truths with more grace and honesty. Discernment is not about controlling outcomes. It is about navigating life with wisdom. And you are becoming someone who carries that wisdom with depth, clarity, and courage. Your sharpened discernment will guide you into doors that fit your identity and away from anything that compromises it. There are moments in your life you've labeled as setbacks, times when progress slowed, doors closed, opportunities stalled, or relationships shifted. And you've often wondered why things couldn't have happened sooner, faster, or easier. Yet understand this: delays are never wasted time when they protect your purpose, strengthen your character, or redirect you toward alignment. You thought you were waiting for circumstances, But circumstances were waiting for you. There were dreams you weren't ready to carry because the emotional weight behind them would have overwhelmed you. There were opportunities that needed more preparation both in you and in the environment surrounding them. There were relationships that needed healing or closure before new ones could enter. There were aspects of your identity that needed refining before you could step into your calling without self-sabotaging. Delay was not denial. It was development. If a door had opened too early, you might have walked through it wounded, insecure, unprepared, or misaligned. If a connection had formed prematurely, it might have intensified patterns you were still healing. If success had arrived before you gained clarity, it might have magnified your fears instead of your strengths. The delay ensured you would approach your next chapter with grounded confidence and emotional readiness. You will soon look back and recognize the beauty in the timing. You will see how certain opportunities appeared exactly when your spirit matured, how relationships entered after your boundaries strengthened, how clarity arrived at the moment you learned to trust your intuition. Delay protected you from temporary fulfillment so you could receive long-term alignment. It shielded you from doors that looked appealing but lacked substance. It redirected you from environments that could not support your growth. Kindly show your support for our community by contributing super thanks from $50 to $100. The time you thought you were losing is time that has been shaping you from within. And as you step into what is coming, you will see that nothing was late, nothing was wasted. Everything arrived exactly when it needed to. There is a quiet fear you carry, one you rarely admit, that whispers you've missed too many opportunities, waited too long, wasted too many years, or fallen too far behind. But that fear is built on an illusion rather than truth. You often measure your progress by artificial timelines, comparing your journey to people whose paths were never meant to match yours. You look at milestones others have reached and assume you should have reached them by now. Yet, understand that time has not slipped away from you. Your path is not late. Your purpose is not delayed. Your story is not behind schedule. Your unfolding is not slow, it is strategic. What you interpret as lost time has been preparation. What you call delay has been refinement. What you fear as stagnation has been foundation building. So much of your life has been shaped through experiences meant to strengthen you before elevation. You endured seasons that carved depth, seasons that taught discernment, seasons that refined your resilience, seasons that corrected your direction, and seasons that purified your motives. None of those phases were wasted. Each one contributed to the maturity, clarity, and wisdom you now carry. You didn't lose time, you invested it. And those investments have prepared you for opportunities that require the exact depth you have gained. You may feel urgency rising inside you, not the frantic urgency of anxiety, but the awakening urgency of purpose. That sensation is not a warning that time is running out. It is evidence that the timing is finally becoming right. You could not have walked into your next season earlier, because the version of youth 8 existed then was not yet aligned with the magnitude of what is approaching. You needed strength, you needed healing, you needed clarity, you needed boundaries, you need maturity, and now you have them. You are walking into a chapter where things will make sense in ways they never did before. You will see how the timing of your life has been woven with intentionality. You will understand why certain opportunities had to wait until your heart healed. You will recognize why certain dreams needed to mature. You will feel the inner readiness that was once missing. Time is not your enemy. Time has been your ollie shaping you for your purpose. You are not running out of time. You are approaching the exact moment your life has been preparing you for. You have carried questions that lingered for years. Questions about why certain trials happened, why certain relationships ended, why certain doors closed, why certain dreams were delayed. And though you've made peace with some of it, a part of you still longs for clarity. You've learned to move forward without full explanations, but the ache for understanding still rises when you revisit certain memories. Understand that you are nearing a season where scattered pieces begin to connect, where confusion begins to clear, and where fragmented experiences begin to reveal their meaning. Clarity doesn't always arrive in a single moment. Often it unfolds through a series of realizations that illuminate your past from a new angle. You will begin to see how certain disappointments protected you, how certain delays redirected you, how certain losses strengthened you, and how certain encounters prepared you for the relationships and responsibilities forming now. What once felt random will begin to feel orchestrated. What once felt painful will begin to feel purposeful. What once felt confusing will begin to feel necessary. This season of clarity won't come through force. It will come through alignment. As your spirit grows steadier, your mind gains sharper understanding. As healing deepens, perspective shifts. As new opportunities form, old chapters make sense. As wisdom emerges, your past reveals its design. You will discover that the moments you once resented were the bridges that carried you into who you have become. The roads you didn't want to take were the ones that strengthened your resilience. The detours you questioned were the very paths that positioned you for the future unfolding now. You won't receive every answer at once, but you will receive enough clarity to feel grounded, stable, and hopeful. You will look back and understand why you couldn't stay where you once were. You will see why certain connections faded. You will understand why you felt inner resistance toward paths that looked good but weren't aligned. You will recognize that every season, both joyful and painful, played a role in shaping your identity, purpose, and destiny. You're entering a chapter where understanding meets healing, and where clarity brings peace to the places that once troubled your heart. There were desires you held so deeply that when they didn't happen, you felt abandoned, unseen, or overlooked. But you will soon see that those withheld desires were not rejections. They were protections. You believed certain opportunities would fulfill you, certain relationships would complete you, certain goals would stabilize you, certain paths would satisfy you. And when they didn't unfold, you questioned whether something was wrong with you, or whether you had failed somehow. Understand that what you once longed for was not wrong. It was simply not aligned with the version of you emerging now. You wanted things before you understood their weight. You desired experiences that would have limited your growth. You pursued connections that could not honor your identity. You hoped for outcomes that would have anchored you in places you were meant to outgrow. You prayed for doors that would have drained your spirit rather than nourished it. What you thought you wanted was shaped by who you were at the time. Someone carrying wounds, uncertainties, unmet needs, and desires formed through old seasons. And because those desires were tied to a version of you that no longer exists, they were never meant to follow you into your future. Protection doesn't always feel like protection. Sometimes it feels like disappointment. Sometimes it feels like delayed fulfillment. Sometimes it feels like unanswered prayers. But protection becomes clear when hindsight reveals what your present understanding cannot. You will soon see how certain disappointments saved you time, heartache, energy, and identity. You will see how certain endings preserved your purpose. You will see how certain closed doors made room for relationships that value your heart, opportunities that align with your calling, and environments that support your growth. What is coming will make you grateful for what didn't. The desires that were withheld weren't too big. They were too small for the person you are becoming. The things you thought were perfect for you would have prevented you from stepping into gifts that are unfolding now. You are being prepared for something fuller, healthier, and more aligned than anything you once tried to force. Soon you will look at what you once begged for and say with confidence, "I'm glad that didn't happen. You were protected, not denied." And the fulfillment ahead will show you why. There is a breakthrough forming ahead of you, quietly, steadily, purposefully. And although you cannot see its full shape yet, you can already feel the shift, the anticipation, the inner stirring that tells you something long awaited is finally approaching. You sense it when your thoughts drift toward possibilities you once dismissed. You feel it in the subtle hope rising, even on days when circumstances still look familiar. You notice it in the renewed strength that keeps appearing out of nowhere, carrying you through moments that once would have overwhelmed you. Understand that what is coming toward you holds more alignment, more clarity, more healing, more purpose, and more fulfillment than anything you've experienced in the seasons behind you. What you are walking into is not a small change. It is a meaningful shift. One that touches multiple layers of your life at once. You will see progress in areas that felt stuck. You will experience peace in places that once held anxiety. You will encounter opportunities you didn't have to chase or force. It will feel as though the pieces of your story that once felt scattered are suddenly working together. Even the slow seasons, the confusing delays, the painful endings, and the unexpected detours will reveal their purpose as you watch everything align with a clarity that once felt unreachable. There will come a moment when you pause, reflect, and realize that every single lesson, every heartbreak, every waiting period, every stretch of growth prepared you perfectly for the blessings unfolding. You will see why certain people left. You will understand why certain prayers were answered differently than you expected. You will recognize how the timing protected you. You will feel gratitude for the strength you gained in hidden seasons. And the gratitude will not be forced. It will rise naturally because you will truly see how everything worked for your good. The fulfillment approaching you will not feel rushed or fragile. It will feel steady, intentional, and deeply rooted. It will match who you've become, not who you used to be. It will meet the healed parts of you, not the wounded ones. It will honor your boundaries, your growth, your integrity, and your purpose. The chapter ahead will not require you to lose yourself. It will require you to stand in the truth of who you finally recognize yourself to be. And when you step into it, when the clarity settles, when the alignment becomes undeniable, when the joy you almost stopped expecting becomes real, you will understand why the journey had to unfold exactly as it did. You will look at what's coming and realize that nothing was withheld from you. Everything was timed for you. You will thank me for the protection, for the preparation, for the shaping, for the redirection, and especially for the blessings that fit you so perfectly. They could not have arrived one day sooner. The moment you've been moving toward is not far. It is nearer than you think. And when it arrives, your gratitude will overflow, not just for what you receive, but for who you became in the process. Amen.